Appreciate it. All hail the mighty chair indeed. What up, Krish? What up, Illusionary Voice, Lixie, Amos Dean, and Rolls Royce, and also an X-Wing pilot. Just occurred to me that the hobby desk is never as clean as it is in the intro. That is true, fortunately. Never really is super clean. What's going on, y'all? Oh, damn, Shatterpoint time indeed. Indeed. Thank you for the sub, Amos Dean, and also Gifanar. Thanks for the prime sub. Appreciate it, y'all. Yeah, we're doing some Shatterpoint today. I am, I don't know, we got buzzed, we got amped to check out the game like this past week and weekend. And so I read all the rules, I assembled my warband, I made myself a little list. And yeah, I'm ready to friggin' rock, dude. I'm ready to rock. Right now, I have the models. I just have one model with me today, the Inquisitor. I have the models pinned to their bases because these bases seem like the kind of bases that'd be really nice to airbrush instead of paint with a paintbrush. And so I've had them just pinned in there temporarily. I'll paint the models with them on the base, pull out the pin, and then paint the base with an airbrush separately, and then glue them back in with some super glue. But for now, I'm gonna just glue a magnet on the underside here, which will be helpful for, transport, but also painting.
Chat's very lucky, apparently.
Why are they lucky?
I was gonna jump on that work call, but I tried to join it like 6 times, and it doesn't work, so.
Rip.
Okay.
The Grand Inquisitor. How are you liking BG3 so far?
Scott, have you been playing Baldur's Gate 3?
Oh, no. CRPGs are not for me. I'm painting number 5 out of 5 of my first squad of Space Marines. Oh, very cool.
I'll tell you what, Baldur's Gate 3 is ruining my life. And there are some truly absurd romance choices in the game.
Absurd?
Yeah.
Nice, and that sticks on there nicely. A little bit, like the man, you can't even tell.
Magnet's a tiny bit proud. On a soft mat, it won't matter.
Yeah, it won't matter. Been watching your vid for 7 years. This is my first stream though. God damn! So you've been watching from the beginning, because my channel's been around for 7.5 years. That's incredible. I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit because this model is bigger. And cool, now we have the model on a nice little handle. I am terrified that I'm gonna break these. There are so many little lightsabers in my squad, and I'm most certainly going to destroy one. I know it. I assume the Venn diagram of tabletop nerds and CRPG enjoyers was a circle. No, yeah, my brain needs the video game to go burr, and that one doesn't go burr, and so my brain gets bored, and then I go and watch YouTube videos. Doesn't move fast enough for me, basically, is what I'm trying to say. It's hot in here, dude. Whoo! I got shorts and a t-shirt on right now. Who the hell's putting it on 74, dude?
Not me. I came in and noticed it was warm too.
Unreal.
I figured that was you.
I mean, it probably was me.
Just blame Alex.
Yeah.
Or your wife.
Yeah. What up, Tuesday stream? Indeed. You're comparing the A404 against the Maestro. Okay, good luck. With you on that Grievous. Wait. With you on that LOL. Grievous has 4. Oh, okay. He has 4 of them bitches sticking out of him. Yeah, dude. The thin, spindly bits. Yeah, dude. Did the heat turn on last night? I have no idea. But we got a little bit of mail time for you today.
I mean, the whole stream is mail time.
Whole stream is mail time. I don't know. This just came to me randomly. Simon apparently partnered with Ubisoft and Guillotine Games to make a Assassin's Creed game.
What?
I think I remember seeing it at some point. But they sent me a model. And it's a really nice model. This is definitely not normal for Kumani or not. And so not only is it larger scale, but also this is very clearly resin, or some kind of resin variant, and the casting quality is excellent.
To our continued
so I don't know
survival.
what this means for
Yeah,
Simon.
right.
But yeah, if it means that we're gonna get maybe a couple models from each of their games that are cast in nice resin, like I've been asking for forever, that would be awesome. But yeah, this is a phenomenally casted model from the Assassin's Creed world, and it's in a larger scale. I don't know if this is the same scale as the game. I don't know anything about the game, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Hey Scott, another longtime fan and first time stream viewer here. I'm a total Twitch noob. Hey, I appreciate you being here though. Paint Hand Dan, good to have you. Now that it's harder to get Kalinsky brushes, what are my go-tos? I typically just go on Blick and buy like Raphael da Vinci series 35 brushes like in bulk. So I'll buy like 4 or 5 of each size that I typically use, and then that's good enough for me. So that's one thing we do. I'm using these brushes from a place where people in the US can't get them, annoyingly. Mine were games. They gave some to me, and I'm just using them because they're good, and I have no problems with them. Anything else? Mrs. Miniac was briefly on the stream once. She was indeed. The whole stream was mail time. I got you. Yeah. OSW is in Kiki. What up? And also Mike Genie. What up? Thank you for the subs, y'all. Okay. I also finished assembling almost my Vampire Accounts unit. 3D printing is kicking my ass right now.
Again?
Not really. I had to keep printing more things that I keep forgetting about, like the little swords that go on the back of these dudes. Like if we check out the paint cam real quick, there's like a little holster right here that a sword is supposed to go in right there. And a lot of my swords had, print failures, but not print failures. Basically, when I was trying to take the sword off, the guard of the sword broke instead of the support. So we get a lot of situations like this where we have one half of the guard, but the other half is missing. So I have to be more careful.
It makes them look more decayed.
I know. I actually did glue on one like that, just because you're never going to notice it. But yeah, I have to be more careful when removing supports. This new resin though is very bendy. It's very bendy. And my last one would have absolutely snapped by now. So that's good. I'm glad that I switched up. I did some light conversion as well. This thing originally had a chalice on top of it, and I just went with a GW bit. It's like I said last stream, it's helpful to have GW bits converted into your 3D prints to kind of make it feel like it belongs in the world a little bit more. Mineworks gave me one, and it's the only good Kalinsky brush I've used. Yikes! I finished my Grand Inquisitor last week and had him post on Discord. Nice. Okay. Which resin is that? The Chi2 resin? No, this is called Hero resin. That's the brand name. It's been made by 3DDR, a company like that. I can't remember what the name of the company is. Something generic like 3D Resin Pro or something like that. And the brand is called Hero.
Something that makes it very easy to search for on Google.
I know, right? It's not very nice. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck? Definitely 100 duck-sized horses. That's just my default. Okay.
It's pretty obvious, I think.
Pretty obvious. We're gonna prime this baddie and get into painting. I know that the box art has, and even the Obi-Wan show, which I believe shows all, if not 3 out of 4 of the Inquisitors in the show, it has them all in black. And I'm sick of painting black. I painted the black with the Yefezdi Walkers. I painted black before that. And so I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. I'm gonna give them some gray pants, black boots, white armor, white capes, red sabers with cool OSL effects, possibly. So that's what I'm gonna do. I don't want to paint it all in black. That's just gonna make me rot my brain.
Why don't you make them like Sith and all white?
Yes, that's kind of what I plan to do. But it's just a mixture of stuff. Also, I called a local game store before I streamed today to ask if they had decal printer paper, and they do. And so after the stream, I'm gonna go and pick up some of that so I can print out some Imperial logos, just because those are very difficult to paint freehand. and I want to toss some.
It's easy. You just have to draw a perfect circle.
Right, yeah, and then ton of little gear teeth and all that shit.
Yeah, no problem.
No problem. But yeah, I want to add some to the cloak, maybe one on the shoulder or on the chest, like a super tiny one, and then of course other ones on the other models as well.
The kitten would like to know which store.
I called Scale Model Supply.
Of course, Scale Model Supply.
Right, it was the first place I called, and they were like, "Yep, we got it," and I was like, "Sick!" So
yeah,
I'm gonna go there after stream.
They have some of the most fantastic, like already printed transfer sheets there too.
Oh, I'll have to look at that because I would love some generic sci-fi and like maybe even modern.
They have a lot of like industrial stuff in particular because like model trains and everything.
I bet.
There's also like what I would call Americana, and I would also point out that Crunstall just gifted 10 subs.
Woo! Crunstall with the 10 gifted subs.
Moving that meter up.
Thank you, sir. So we are doing a giveaway today.
I've been thinking about a bunch of transfers for my robots.
Yes.
Got to give them style and personality.
Speaking of robots and Star Wars, strangely, I have a related story. There's an Inquisitor in the box that this Shatterpoint mini comes in. His name is called the Fifth Brother, and he has the dumbest helmet. He has his whole head is just dumb. He looks like an idiot. I'm sorry, Star Wars fans. I don't like that helmet at all. So I reached out to Skullforge Studios, who are huge lovers of Star Wars, at least as far as the STLs they sculpt goes. They have so many sculpted for Legion, and they have so many cool helmets. And so I asked the guy who runs Skullforge if he could make me a helmet that was like another Inquisitor from the comic book series, and he was down to do that. And he said, also, Evan, if you like mechs and mechs with pouches and stuff, that him and Electi, who is another indie developer, have made a mech game, and he makes STLs for those mechs, and they are cool and militaristic and have pouches and stuff. And he's making more.
Prove it.
Go to Skullforge Studios and look up the mechs. It's a Gumroad website. Skullforge is really cool. It has so many cool Dune things and so many cool Star Wars models. Like if you wanted to 3D print an entire Empire or Rebellion army, you totally could, and it would look so good.
They're not Star Wars. Can't say that.
Okay, sorry. Star Wars adjacent.
Like I'm looking at the Insurgent Crosswing Fighter, which is clearly draws no inspiration from the X-Wing.
Yeah. JTP, thank you for the Prime sub. Krish asks, wasn't there a boutique display mini that you wanted to convert into a Sith Lord? I remember you mentioning it in a video a while back. There was so I painted a model called Tally. I can't remember her real name, but someone else converted her into a Sith Lord, and it was fucking amazing. It was an awesome idea. There's a possibility that from that inspiration, I wanted to do something similar to another model that I might own, or that I own currently, but I can't remember which one it is though. But that's definitely where it came from. If we're thinking of the same thing. Yeah, dude, Mushroom Head. That guy looks so dingusy. Bezos bucks time. Hell yeah. Skullforge Patreon is like 60 files a month. God damn. Oh shit. Look at me just spilling shit everywhere. Yeah, they got Last of Us stuff as well. I didn't know about the John Wick stuff. That's cool. Hell yeah, Star Wars stuff. We're gonna try to play Star Wars, and by try, I mean I hope we will. We're gonna play Shatterpoint this Thursday on stream.
Oh.
I'm pretty good on all the rules. It feels like, although everyone was telling me that cover rules are really confusing in Shatterpoint, but they don't seem that confusing. So I don't know what's going on there.
If you get confused, you just ignore them. I don't know why people struggle with this stuff so much. Rugged Cartoon 631 says, "Hello, Miniac."
Hello. Just make up your own new rules. Okay. What primer is that? Oh, it's just it's Badger Stynel Res, which I've had good luck with, but not everyone typically does.
Primer's a very personal conversation.
Right. Please ask questions, though.
Scott, what's your favorite movie called Primer?
My favorite what movie primer? Oh, cult movie primer?
I said, what is your favorite movie called Primer?
Oh. It's not a very fair question. I feel like I still heard the question wrong. Where's my favorite movie called Primer? You're fucking with me, right?
You just say, Primer is my favorite.
I'm just confused because like someone is asking a question about Primer, and I know the movie named Primer, but it doesn't have anything to do with actual Primer, right? Like at least in this context?
No, it does not have anything to do with Primer.
Okay.
I mean, the name of the movie is Primer, but...
Right. Okay. We're all on the same page.
Yeah. I'm looking for robots with pouches. I don't know, man. So there's a lot of stuff that's legally distinct from popular franchises here, though.
Yes. I don't know if what he was telling me was that he is making more robots with pouches, or that the current offerings satisfied that need. So there might be more coming, but...
I will also say that their site, like many others, suffers from it being very difficult to find what you want. Shout out to Darksword Miniatures for their miniature finder on their janky website that looks like it was made on GeoCities 15 years ago, because you can search by characteristic, not just like, oh, I'm looking for the definitely not Empire, and then you have 150 things to look through. I love being able to search by, like, guys with guns, humans, robots, just like features to narrow things down. I want a guy with a not lightsaber, because that's trademarked, a laser sword, showing skin, not a robot.
Kraith asks, will you be doing a standard desert basing scheme, or will you do something more interesting? I think I want to paint them as if they are on a destroyer, so a spaceship floor. I don't know if all the sculpted bases have desert terrain on them. I could probably paint them to look like stone, maybe. They don't look like desert base too much. And then Benfit asks, have you played Shatterpoint much yet? No, I haven't. I've demoed it, like a long full game demo. And then that's it. And so we're gonna play. I want to play tonight as well. I decided to see if someone's available. And then I'm gonna play on Thursday. Those are my first games. What are you running in addition to your Jedi Hunters? Asks Eon's Battle. What up, Jay or Nick? I am running my Inquisitors, the Inquisitor supporting unit, and the Fifth Brother because of his objective holding capabilities. Although I hate the model. And I'm going to run Darth Maul as my second primary unit, and I'm going to run Rex and 501 First Clone Troopers, which I know that that doesn't work thematically, but aesthetically they look like stormtroopers, and so I'm going to paint them like stormtroopers because there aren't really any yet in the game. And I don't want everyone to have a lightsaber in my army. I want there to be some gruntish dudes with guns. And you can do that in Shatterpoint. You can put together bad guys and good guys.
Disgusting. They do have the robots. They do have robots heavily inspired by the Avatar film series on here, which is cool.
Okay. OSW in Kiki says, I played about 30 games of Shatterpoint. That's a decent amount, goddamn. The rules are pretty straightforward once you begin to understand the rules language they have developed. Honestly, I read the rule book and it was just, it's kind of shocking. I'd like to think that I can write a good rule book, but I don't know that for a fact. I'm just kind of shocked at how bad many rule books are. Of course, everything can take improvement. Of course, I know that. I don't want flawless rule books. That's never going to be a thing.
I mean, I do.
Of course, everyone wants that. But there are such obvious improvements to the rule book that's just like, you must have been rushed and you didn't do a good job, and you know you didn't do a good job. Because like there are so many sections in the rule book that are re-explained, so many rules that are re-explained, and sometimes they will add details, sometimes they'll remove details about the thing that they're explaining in a subsequent section, which could be on the next page or several pages later. It makes it very difficult to know where to look when you want to find a rule. So yeah, I don't know, that was kind of weird. But for the most part, I think I get the rules. I'm concerned about cover. Just Seppuku. Hi Scott, this game for the constructive critique on my vampire and his skelly boys. Hope you and the crew and chat are doing well. Thanks for the sub, and you're very welcome. Oh, well, Rugged Cartoon. Glad to meet you. Did Shatterpoint have a Bad Batch yet? I don't think so. Are the Bad Batch the guys from Solo? Is that what the Bad Batch is?
Bad Batch is like animated series thing.
Yeah, but I didn't know if they were reintroduced in that movie. No, the Bad Batch guys are from. Come on, Rufus. It's not, obviously, but they don't name them in the Solo movie. They're kind of just like there in the movie. Okay, I'm gonna do some zenithal highlighting. I'm going to go for a cold white because there are obviously red accents on the model because it's an Empire model, and so I'll go with that nice little temperature contrast that we can get with some blue and some red. They're failed clones, basically. Okay. I thought Woody Harrelson and his gang, I thought maybe they were like the Bad Batch. I have no idea what Bad Batch is. Blood Bowl is such a tight game. I don't know what tight means, I guess, in that case.
Tight.
Cover is straightforward. If you can draw a line from one base to another and it crosses through or over a piece of terrain, you have cover. Cover rate can only be used if you have a hunger token. Right. That's kind of what I thought. The cover doesn't count if it's on a lower elevation, right? It has to be same or higher. So like if you were shooting through a metal grated bridge, that would count as cover, right?
I'll tell you what, I love these guys. They're definitely not from Star Wars.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If they were, they would look very much like something I enjoy from Star Wars.
Right. So Eon says that Solo is one of his very favorite Star Wars, I'm assuming, movies. I kind of agree. I just watched Solo last night, and that movie's so fucking good. They got us Daenerys Targaryen. They got us fucking Lando, played by Childish Gambino. Got us Woody Harrelson. Honestly, the least impressive name in the whole movie is the goddamn Han Solo himself. But yeah, that aside from the amazing cast, the movie is really fun. It's really fun to watch. There's some weird stuff where like Han tries to speak fucking like Chewie's language and he's like growling at him and it's kind of cringe. But
the whole thing is just like,
I like it.
It's fine, but it could have been so much better.
I don't know. I disagree. I think it's perfect. I want more. I want like we reintroduced fucking Darth Maul, and he's like telling what's her name? I can't remember her name. The female protagonist lady to come to Dathomir. It's like we all this cool shit. I love it.
Yeah, like all that stuff is fine, but it shouldn't have been Han Solo. It should have been a Lando Calrissian movie the whole way through.
Why?
Because
why can't it be?
Giving Han Solo a crappy backstory movie is a lot less interesting than exploring further outwards.
I don't think it was crappy though. I think it was pretty good. What more would you have wanted?
I would have wanted the whole movie to be Lando Calrissian's adventure.
No,
and the very end of it, Han Solo sits down at the table and he loses the ship that he just went on this giant adventure in.
Okay.
You can still use basically the same script. Just ditch Han. Have Lando be the protagonist.
Lightsaber daggers, Lando boinking a droid. It's got it all. Solo got a bad rap. If it wasn't for production setbacks and extensive reshoots, it would be considered a financial success, and we'd have more Star Wars. I would love more Star Wars like that in Rogue One, honestly. But so I'm curious, though, Evan, what about the Han Solo movie would you want to change to make it a better backstory for Han Solo?
I just don't want a backstory for Han Solo.
Why not, dude? It's like, okay, I mean, admittedly, the way he got his name, according to the movie, is a little cheesy. But like,
it's incredibly dumb.
You still get to see other cool things though about Han Solo and like where he, kind of picks up some of his traits and stuff like that and his mannerisms and stuff. So
sure, I guess.
How does it change? How do you change the movie?
I mean, ultimately speaking, I'm a bigger fan of the original extended universe backstory of his, where he was actually just a stormtrooper, and then he was like, "This sucks. I'm done with this."
Obviously, he does that in the movie as well, right?
Yeah, it's a different kind of "this sucks," though.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that ultimately speaking, sometimes it's better not to explain the backstory of characters ever.
Okay.
I think the tendency that we have to make prequel movies is generally a bad one.
So you just don't want one at all?
Nah. I would rather them explore a character that is smaller in that way, which is why I would prefer Lando. Also, I thought that my God, why can't I remember his name? Yeah, Andor was great.
Cassian Andor?
I mean the show Andor, because they're exploring outwards, right? Instead of the same 8 characters over and over. I don't need to see Luke ever again. I don't need to see Leia ever again.
Right. I think I largely agree with that.
Would people flock to the theaters for Lando though? I don't know, but they didn't flock to the theaters for Solo. So, and Andor doesn't have any like named Star Wars characters in it, and it was a colossal success.
I would love less TV shows, more movies. It'd be amazing.
Yeah, going back to the same characters over and over makes what is theoretically like an insanely large sci-fi setting feel very, very small.
Rufus says that a lot of the things that show how he got the things that he's known for are the lamest part of the movie. And I would disagree. I think the Kessel Run is an amazing part of the movie. That is part of his backstory. I think how he wins his ship is totally fine. I don't think it's like bad. I do think the how he got his name was a little lame, yeah. But what are the other things that are lame? I think those things are all fine.
It's just all of it is like, hey, we mentioned these 4 things in A New Hope, and we're going to explain them all right here in this one movie. It's very tacky. It makes everything feel so small. This ship did the Kessel Run. Well, we better show the Kessel Run. Let's get it done. We mentioned that thing. People need to go, oh yeah. They did talk about that in that movie that takes place 20 years later.
So you just don't like how contrived it is, how forced it is.
I just think it's pandering of the worst kind.
What do you mean, the worst kind?
I mean the worst kind. It's not even, if it was just Han Solo on an adventure, right? It's still pandering because it's the character you know, but it could be a wholly new thing. Like you no characters here. It's just him. No Chewie yet even. It's just Han Solo on an adventure. And you're like, oh, so this is the sort of stuff that Han would get up to before him and Chewie met. But instead it's like, oh, we've got to make sure that everything's in place just like that for A New Hope, even though, again, it doesn't take place for another 15, 20 years, whatever. And so it's like, well, in that case, we have to, everything that's mentioned about the character that doesn't happen on screen, we've got to take care of now.
Okay. I think that's fair enough.
I will say I enjoyed the movie. I actually liked it more than Rogue One, but I am a notorious Rogue One hater.
Alien Art, that is Evan, my stream producer.
That's me.
Much anger in you, I feel.
That's true.
Because I primed this black and parts of it are going to be white and parts of it are going to be black, I'm going to favor the parts that are going to be white. Because for me, it's easier to bring down a model than it is to lift it back up in value. And so I'll go too bright with the, with the zenithal undercoat here. And then I will darken it back down with some easier methods. And also because a lot of the details that I'm painting black are just not important details, so they don't need as much effort. And so that is also a reason why I will favor the white colors, because I'm going to be trying harder with the paintbrush for those parts. I also like Solo more than Rogue One. Rogue One was just a ridiculous fan service. How did Vader go from an all-powerful badass at the end of Rogue One to a crippling, hobbling around? He's not crippled. I just watched episode 4, and Vader is a fucking monster. He is so evil, and I love it.
Yeah, Vader's great in episode 4, but that's partly because he's strong and understated.
Yeah, that's part of it too, because like really you don't know who Vader is yet, and like what the Sith is, and it's like a religion, and they're like fighting against like government, and it's like this interesting like who's more powerful in the world, the religious like forces or like the government forces, and they don't respect one another really. And then Vader just like chokes a bitch, and then everyone's like, "Oh, okay, I get it." Not okay, yeah. Vader's.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know his first dialogue scene with the like lieutenant on the ship, not even the captain, where he's just holding him up with one arm.
Yeah,
is also pretty badass.
It's awesome. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, Rogue One was good too. I like Rogue One too. Nothing lights Twitch chat on fire like discussing Star Wars opinions. Yeah, often.
I'll tell you what. I saw Barbie last week. I did do that.
Nice.
Yeah,
number 10 in the box office isn't terrible.
It's all about meeting expectations, right? If you expect a movie to be in the top 3 and it's only in the top 10, it's a failure. If you don't expect a movie to chart at all and then it's in the top 5, it's an overwhelming, outrageous success.
That's true.
You know, like Everything, Everywhere, All at Once was successful beyond their wildest dreams. Atsu333, not just lightsaber fights, everything was modeled after samurai films. A New Hope is basically a remake of The Hidden Fortress. Yeah, we were talking about that last week, Scott. Did you actually watch any of Kurosawa's films?
I did not, but I did watch a lot of movies. And let me briefly mention them. So I watched episode 4 in Solo, which we've already discussed. And I also watched Willy's Wonderland, the Nick Cage movie. 8mm, another Nick Cage movie. It's more of a thriller, less of a horror. I watched The Night Eats the World. I watched a great zombie movie with a bit of a different take. I watched The Bees, an absolutely terrible 80s, 70s horror B movie. It's so bad, it's so great. I watched The Tunnel, and I watched Climax, and I watched
Excuse me?
What?
You watched and climaxed?
I watched Climax, The Tunnel, Climax, and I watched Moloch, a Shudder original, which is pretty good, and that's it. Amber is gone with her mom, and so I am fucking watching movies like a monster right now. 8mm
Dwight's
is
not
creepy.
home. Watch movies.
Basically, yeah. Oh my god, there's a fucking person up there cleaning a goddamn window, and it's terrifying. You see that person, Evan?
Yeah, he's
You can
looking
see,
around.
You can see everything I'm doing right now. It's so bizarre. Ooh, okay. Have I watched?
Should I open up the door and then like charge into the ladder?
Yeah, you
Stop
absolutely
the
should do
problem.
that. I need to watch Sorceress on Prime. I might have already seen it. I can't remember. There's a lot of. I might have already seen it, but maybe not. The Miniatures Tavern next to the party rate of 8.
For some reason, the framing today just makes you look really short. Are you sitting lower than usual?
No, the camera's just pointed up more.
I'll fix that.
Sure. I have 2 questions for y'all. How do you feel about historical miniatures and Godzilla films? Old
I feel
Godzilla.
conflicted about historical miniatures. I think history is best forgotten.
Okay. I haven't watched any Godzilla movies. That's an area of growth for me. That and also martial arts movies. I have some serious lack going on with those genres of movie.
Yeah, we gotta watch some martial arts.
Yeah, like I haven't seen like Ip Man or like any Bruce Lee films or really any Jackie Chan films.
Why start with good movies when you could start with bad movies?
Yeah, so I've seen Ong Bak 1, 2, and
Unbach
3,
the Thai Warrior is pretty sweet.
and I've seen Raid Redemption, and that's it.
Sure.
That's the only ones I've seen.
Yeah, but like we gotta introduce you to the schlock too. Like
I feel like we can't do
American
schlock.
Ninja.
We can't do schlock yet.
Yeah, we can.
You gotta start with some good stuff first, and then you get into the schlock.
Ooh, Stal Passon's right. Get some Sonny Chiba in your life.
Sonny-
And not just Sonny Chiba in Fast and the Furious 3 Tokyo Drift.
Someone mentioned Crouching Tiger. I have seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yes, that one's fantastic.
I feel like everybody saw that in the 90s.
Yeah, probably.
Or early 2000s,
Yeah.
whenever it came out.
Yeah. Okay, again, did a very heavy blue zenithal undercoat now on top of the black. There's still some black in the recesses, but now we're gonna hit it with an even brighter light blue. And then at the very end, I'll do a white ink zenithal undercoat. Do that next. So I'll clean out the airbrush and then we'll move on to that. My husband's all about Godzilla. Yeah, I know. Godzilla's got a lot of fans. Short King Scott. Go to the door and hold the mini up until he squints to see what it is. Okay. If you're not ready for the old stuff, try Ip Man. I think that'd be a good thing to try.
The question is, which Ip Man?
I
I believe there's Ip Man and the Ip Man or something like that.
I don't know. I'm a noob. But yeah, very hyped for Lord of the Rings right now, and having a lot of fun. Having a lot of fun just kind of, being at home, watching the movies, assembling Star Wars minis.
Slugonics just subscribed with Prime.
Thank you, Slugonics.
I just noticed your LED on your set is out.
What one?
Your rope that sits behind you.
Oh, right. Yeah. I noticed that a little bit ago, and I kind of forgot to look into it at all. But I should look into that. Okay, I need white ink, which it is already be on my desk. Wonderful. Any display models you eyeing? Just painted the Shaman from Creepy Tables. Was a joy. I haven't played any Creepy Tables models. Painted any Creepy Tables models yet. So you got me there. Any display models I'm eyeing? Not at the moment, no. I have a lot that I have purchased that I really enjoy and would love to paint those before buying more.
Scott, would you say that your life is like a season of Big Bang Theory, but without the excessive laugh tracks?
I've never seen The Big Bang Theory, so I don't know the answer to that question. Why? Did someone ask that, or did you ask?
That's what Chris Creates says, is that your life is like a season of Big Bang Theory, but without the excessive laugh tracks.
What does that
I
mean?
don't know that that's true.
What does that mean?
That your life is like a sitcom. I mean, my life was like a sitcom for a long time.
What do I
agree
feel?
that.
What if I feel about historical miniatures? I'm not super passionate about history, as a hobby topic. I don't look into history for the fun of
Scott
it.
hates history.
That's not true. My mom loves history though, and I love painting models as a gift. And so I do enjoy painting, or I like the idea of painting models as a gift for my mom. And so I did buy a British naval officer
that reminded me of Russell Crowe in that TV show or movie he's really famous for, Master and Commander. Is that a movie?
Yeah, you got it. It's also a book.
It's also a book. Okay.
And
So yeah.
if I could choose any movie of all time, anything to make a sequel to, Master and Commander.
Really?
Yep. 100%.
Okay.
There's more content to adapt in the stuff that it's based off of.
Okay.
And yeah. I think that is one of the greatest films of all time.
Oh, greatest film of all time. I haven't seen Kung Pao, no.
Can't watch Kung Pao until you have about 20 Kung Fu movies under your belt.
I hate the French, that's why I don't fuck with historics.
I thought if you hated the French, that was the reason to mess with historicals, because then you can beat up on the French. Yeah, one of my few regrets in my life, Kitten, is that I didn't see Master and Commander in theater. And then I watched it like a year later when it was out on home video. And I was like, this is wild. How did I not see this in theaters?
Someone said that there should be a Constantine sequel, and I very much so agree with that.
I agree with that too, but Master and Commander is just better.
I'm getting speckling. Not that you can see it. I don't want that. I don't want speckling. All right, I'm gonna add more thinner. I need a bigger pot or cup.
I liked the Book of Eli. It was all right. You ever see that one, Scott?
With good old Denzel.
Yeah.
I think I saw it on like an airplane, but I don't really remember anything about it, unfortunately.
It was all right. It's like a post-apocalyptic Western where a guy's on a pilgrimage.
Okay.
And then there's a big spoiler reveal at the end of the movie that is supposed to blow your mind, but actually is kind of like, yeah, okay. Sardos ripoff with the Bible. Yeah, kinda. I liked it. I haven't watched the Constantine TV show, I'm ashamed to admit.
Oh man, you know what I really need to watch? I really need to watch the fourth John Wick movie.
Yeah, I still haven't watched that.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch that.
My friend that I went to see 2 and 3 in theaters with didn't want to go see number 4, so I haven't watched it yet. I noticed you got a projector in a box here, Scott.
I do.
We upgrading the studio?
No, that's the projector that we use for the painting classes.
This is some bullshit.
I feel like I'm still kind of getting a lot of speckling here. I'm going to pour some paint out of my cup and just add more thinner. So I'm going to keep adding thinner. One thing I never really know about, and maybe Chad can help me with this, is that when I want to thin paint in my airbrush and I put thinner in the cup and I do backflow mixing, how much more airbrushing do I need to have to do until I really get to the part of the paint that's actually now newly thinned? I feel like very often while I'm airbrushing, I'll airbrush, notice a problem, do some corrective thinning, do some backflow, still have a problem, and then thin it again. And then the first time I thinned, then actually is in the airbrush. And then I'm like, oh, this is good. And then now I'm over thinned because I didn't wait long enough. I want to know like how much backflow mixing do I have to do to actually like get it to show up faster in the airbrush. So that I'm testing the thing I just recently changed. That makes sense.
Here's my controversial take on this.
Controversial?
I don't think backflow mixing really works.
In theory, it seems like it should.
It should. My experience has been pretty spotty with it. I much prefer my little airbrush station. I have basically a little, like, it's like a toothpick, but it's made out of plastic.
Okay.
I just stir with that, and then I blow a little bit through onto a hard surface like my Miniac cutting mat, which you can get on miniac.co right now. Until it's actually blowing that mixture out, and I have much more consistent results that way than with backflow mixing.
Okay.
Also, what is with the gnats in the studio today?
Maybe the trash hadn't get taken out in a while, and Alex just did that, so maybe it's better now.
Yeah, it might be fruit flies. There's one flying in front of the camera, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah. My wife watches random shows to fall asleep to, and Peter Stormare, the bad guy from 1, is in this random show about the search for the Viking Stone. The Satan from Constantine. You should always mix the paint off of the airbrush and then load it in. Backfilling ends up putting paint in the back of the airbrush, and over time it will clog it. If you do end up doing it, you got to spray a bit before the new mixed paint pops. Sure, okay. That's definitely a way that you would know for sure that what you're using is actually the newly thinned stuff.
What is this link to tell me, Rufus, that they're making more Master and Commander?
Right, okay. Tony Monks is the same thing, just mixing the paint outside of the airbrush and then putting it in. You'll know for sure. Okay. If I have any tips for beginners, a rugged cartoon, I would check out my video about, that's titled Know Nothing About Airbrushes. Watch this. That's the video I'd watch if I were you.
Yeah, we'll have to save that. Skullforge Studio has a printable bundle of laser sword blades, clearly as replacements for blades that break.
Nice. That's awesome.
Honestly, De Kratzberg, I would love to try that at some point. Do some miniatures entirely with the airbrush and really try and push my skills.
All right, now I'm a little too thinned, and so I would just add
A little bit of starch.
a little bit of starch. Thickening up here, get that gel state. I stir the water in my ratty old paintbrush cup and backflow and spray out whatever's in the nozzle about 1 second on full blast. Okay. For some sort of psycho immersion, you gotta do a week of painting and you're only allowed to use an airbrush.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I kind of want to try that.
I often use a needle to stab the nozzle over and over to clear it up, but lately my airbrush has been spewing out unevenly. Has my approach damaged the nozzle? Very possibly, yeah. I mean, a needle is metal. Your nozzle is made most often out of brass, but there are other materials people use to make nozzles. And
The nozzle.
you just keep stabbing it and stuff. You're not careful about how far you're pushing the needle in. You're definitely going to cause some kind of a issue. All right. I also need to my toothbrush. And
Jimmy Hayes, you just buy a new needle. They are considered to be not a disposable item, but a wear item. And trying to straighten it is a fool's errand, truthfully. Yeah, consumable, that's a good way of putting it. There's a reason that most stores that carry airbrushes have spare needles. Why I get stressed out every time Scott cleans his airbrush with a toothbrush this way.
I'm just cursed. I'm always getting splattering with my white. It's annoying.
God, is it already time to start planning for Adepticon?
I have the calendar date saved for the hotel opening up. So that's August 24th,
Oh my God.
I think.
I feel like the butter robot.
Someone said the Tamiya boys, or sorry, they call the Paint Boys, swear by Tamiya flat white for their pre-shades. I know, I know that, and I went to buy Tamiya white, and idiotically, I bought the glossy one instead of the matte one. So
The 21st is when hotel. Oh God.
excuse me, Airbrush?
Is it squealing at you?
Yeah.
It's telling you it doesn't like it, Scott. See it?
See ya.
The screams of the tormented.
I know, sorry, my airbrush was squealing there. I didn't notice it, but this nut was loose. The main one that screws into the airbrush was loose. My bad.
Mike Genie says, word on the street is the Adepticon room block is asking for the first night as deposit as well when you book. Okay. Is that abnormal? I don't know.
I don't know if that's abnormal. I can't remember what I had to do in previous years.
I don't think my buddy's getting an Airbnb for me to crash at for free this year.
No.
But I also think that I would lose my mind if I had to share a room with Kanjan, truthfully.
Yeah. It's challenging. Just kidding, John, love you.
Hey, I like John plenty, but Kanjan,
Guy's a menace.
I need to sleep without bad things happening.
Oh, I also want to add like a cartoony red OSL glow, like the guys do when they paint the chibi models for that one company, CMON, but the game's called, what would you get, chibi Marvel dudes and you're playing fucking
Marvel Zombies.
Pandemic?
Marvel Zombies? No, they're not chibi, though.
No,
it's a different thing, right?
Marvel United.
Marvel United?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, Marvel United, yes. I would love to do some red glow on the backside of these guys, but no blending, just like essentially putting down like fast layers. Adepticon 2, The Wrath of Khanjan, yes.
Too accurate.
That's funny because it's The Wrath of Khan. Nice.
Yeah.
I just now
You got
understood. I got there, guys.
Rufus, everything's fine on our end, but I think that Twitch might be having problems today.
Why is Twitch having problems?
When we first started our stream, like, no one in the Warhammer category had more than, like, 10 viewers.
Interesting.
And we were stuck below 50 for the first, like, 30 minutes. We're up to relatively normal levels now, but... and a lot of these other channels that we are familiar with also.
It's had a bit of a weird hiccup.
Yeah, don't know.
Okay.
We're not the #1 channel on the Warhammer category right now, though.
What's up?
I said we're not the #1 channel on the Warhammer category right now.
Who is?
Rev Scarecrow.
Who's that?
Artist and streamer from Austin, Texas that plays video games. What else is there to know?
Okay.
Oh.
Stream is choking on my end. Uh-oh. And loving Shatterpoint myself. Are you going to be doing any games with it? Yeah, G-Frico. We're going to play this Thursday, hopefully, on our live stream from 7 to 10 p.m. CST. See if my rules apprehension is good.
You and Dan? You and Curtis?
Me and Curtis. Curtis is actually the one who was like the main driving force behind wanting to play. He's super hyped to try it out, even though he doesn't really like Star Wars very much. Oh, nice HUD. Khanjan Boogaloo.
Uh-oh. Let me look at him.
When you run scale at 75 through your airbrush, how much thinner / flow improver are you using? I've been afraid to run it through my airbrush. I don't think that I am using more thinner than I do on other paint that is historically thick. Like if I were thinning AK Interactive and scale of 75, I would use like the exact same amount of thinner. So I don't know if that answers your question very well, but yeah, I'm not doing anything especially for the scale of 75.
HUD, where did you post these? Are you lying to me right now?
He's lying. All right, I cleaned out my airbrush fully here, like Vincenzo and some viewers suggested. And now I will go into, I'll do everything, all the best practices.
I will do it all.
I will put some white ink in a cup, and then I will pour it into the airbrush.
Where in general? It was a reply. Oh, God. I have to look for it?
Jimmy Hayes, I have tried that. I've tried it where you try to blast it. And that, I guess in theory, that seems like it should do something. The other thing is I'm gonna have to learn how to thin in this cup or whatever cup I choose to use. I have a pretty good idea of how much I should thin a paint if it's inside of an airbrush cup, what it looks like and what it feels like and how it sloshes around. Gonna have to kind of relearn that a little bit.
Oh my God. Definitely showing this on the stream. Oh, where's my mouse? Thank you.
All right, this is pretty thin stuff. So I'm actually, well, let's do a little bit of testing first.
If you come out to Adepticon and you find Huddleston, you'll be able to get some of these stickers. Scott's not paying attention.
Khanjan, nice. That works. The flames too, added on, those are good. Those are nice.
Big fan.
Doesn't like Star Wars very much? I knew there was something wrong with him. Yeah, give him a lot of shit when he's on stream on Thursday. He loves that.
Yeah, it's definitely what Curtis needs.
Yeah. All right. now we got some white ink in the airbrush here, and we're gonna try to target very specific areas. We're looking at 19 PSI right now. I'll drop it down to like 15 or 14 or something like that. I don't know how much of a difference that really makes, but it's gonna enable me to get a little bit closer to the model to get some more focused highlights. Like for instance, right on top of his shoulder here. Let's see if I can get a good shot of that.
Flapjack Nickelsack says, I have a feeling I know what the answer is going to be, but should I go to Adepticon?
I think there's enough info out there for you to make that choice for yourself. I love it. I think it's fantastic. But obviously a large convention with many people and sweaty bodies and constant exposure isn't right for everyone. And I think it's important for the individual to make that choice for themselves. At least once, I feel like that's a good thing.
At least once a year.
You run low pressure. I mean, if you want to get close to the model, you have to run low pressure. You can't do anything higher because it just spiderwebs instantaneously. That's another reason why I like using scale 75, just because it's matte and it creates this more tactile layer for paint to stick to. I notice when I use airbrush, when I airbrush with inks, and I've done several layers of inks, it starts to get glossy. And the glossier it gets, the more it spiderwebs. So you kind of want that tactile layer for the paint to stick to. Dear God, is this just my stream? It's killing me.
Yeah, I think it's just your stream because you're the only one complaining about it. We're not dropping frames.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Flapjack Nickelsack. Adepticon is not as big. It's like 1/7 the size, I think. What? I didn't hear about this, Mike Genie. Am I out of touch on something good? Oh yeah, Scott, I didn't tell you. Dan brought me a gift from Gen Con.
Oh yeah, he mentioned something about that to me as well. What did he get you?
He got me the second wave of Evian.
Oh, nice.
Dr. Rhino wants to know, Scott, how delicious is fresh-made banana bread sliced, toasted, then hit with a big tab of butter?
I don't know about the toasting, but everything else you said was amazing sounding. Yeah, I heard about that the magic cards getting stolen. That's crazy.
Toasted in a pan, trust me. But yeah, I'm excited about it. The Wave 2 stuff is pretty sweet. Evian is pretty cool. I think we're up to 8 people from the Song of Ice and Fire crew who have bought into Evian now.
Nice.
It's happening, man.
It's happening.
Not to mention the people nationally and internationally I've turned on to it. I haven't touched Colossus in 2 weeks, Rufus Kit. I overslept for last week's paint night, and then this week I just really, really didn't want to paint. And so instead I sleeved cards for 3 hours. The aforementioned Evian stuff needed to get organized, so.
Okay.
Banana bread coffee cake. Interesting.
All right. That's gonna do it for the highlighting. I'm gonna do one round of airbrush shading, just because I like to knock back some of those bright highlights. But otherwise, we're gonna start getting into some painting here with the brush. How's that MCP going? Yeah, Evan, how's it going?
I just was talking about that. You were so focused on your mini, you didn't even hear me say it.
No, I heard you say it. You sleeved minis for 3 hours. Sorry, cards for 3 hours as opposed to
Painting? Yeah.
actually painting. Yeah. Sorry, I started to ask that question before I already knew the answer to it. It's got to be toasted in a pan. Trust me. But man, I just sometimes I just love a soft, gooey thing. Like a cinnamon roll, or like a buttery piece of banana bread, or like hell, even like a hot dog, or even a burger. Sometimes in like a soft bun, a soft potato bun or roll. Like I just like that sometimes. I don't know if that's if anyone's with me on that though. It could be weird. I'm gonna go home and I am 100% gonna paint this model more while probably watching other Star Wars movies. Very exciting. Oh, at the very beginning of this stream, Krish asked what video I was working on. I'm working on the last unit for my Song of Ice and Fire, or Age of Sigmar. Sorry, that was like a bazillion years ago. Cinnamon roll. Yes, I made some cinnamon rolls. Well, me and my wife both made cinnamon rolls recently, and they're very good. What's your stance on apple fritters? 10 out of 10. Would eat. Apple fritters, coffee cakes, Danishes. I love those breakfasty pastries. They're so tasty.
What makes a pastry a breakfast pastry?
People decided.
I see. It's just consensus.
Yeah, consensus. Yeah, that's the word. I don't know. That's a great question. Maybe, how well it pairs with coffee, maybe? I don't know.
But like, not everybody has coffee for breakfast.
That's true, but I feel
It's
like...
like an American thing.
Yeah, but a lot of people do coffee for breakfast. It's maybe, or I don't know, coffee and tea, whatever pairs well with that. Maybe I don't fucking know. Well, Chad, what's your theory? What determines whether or not a pastry is good for breakfast? A good apple fritter and a cup of coffee is A+. People get together and decide to stop shaming each other for dessert and breakfast. People got to get together. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Are there any sweet pastries that aren't breakfast pastries?
I mean, like, I feel like chocolate cake,
Yeah, I would say a lot of cakes actually
brownies, probably
be considered uncouth for breakfast.
Uncouth.
Yes. You could also say that like pie is a type of pastry. You don't really have breakfast pie.
Yeah, I'm sure there are versions, chat.
Sure.
But
broadly speaking.
Yeah. Breakfast
You don't think of cakes as pastry? What?
I feel like, yeah, maybe he's right about that. Like pastry, like if it's a batter for your bread element, then it's not a pastry. Is that what's being said?
I mean, isn't a cake baked by a pastry chef?
Yeah, I mean, we can find examples probably for days about when that doesn't apply. But when I think of pastry, I think of rough puff pastry. I think of laminations. I think of croissant. I don't think of birthday cake. But yeah, the term probably applies. All right.
Yeah, but you think a coffee cake is breakfast stuff.
God damn it.
Also, don't drop your shit.
I did. Chad, is my mic super shit right now?
Oh, hang on. Let me put on my headphones so I can tell. Talk at me.
Testing.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Good.
Aren't all cakes just pancakes because they're baked in a pan? Yeah, kind of. Is a hot dog a sandwich? No.
We're going there again.
It's not complicated.
Generally speaking, when I
Taco.
shade white, I like to use Gulliman Blue, this old GW glaze. It's like really good for that specific purpose. I don't know if I have any of it though. I think maybe I brought it. Oh no.
Anything where the two sides aren't completely separate isn't a sandwich. It's a taco.
Pastry versus confection, maybe? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask. Why does every mini painting chat devolve into food? Because food is life. Okay.
And also, who the hell wants to talk about minis the whole time?
I mean, I could do that.
Yeah, we could.
Do you guys want to talk
But
about minis?
who wants to? What we want to talk about is the things that bring us joy outside of miniatures.
Sometimes, I guess. But also, talking about minis is good too.
We did. We did that for like 15 minutes.
I will say taco is a type of sandwich.
No.
Instantly, no.
Is this where I go on the rant about words having meaning? I will not see our society eroded in this way.
All right.
Cake lacks the solid fats element. What are you talking about? There are plenty of cakes with butter in them. Or lard or shortening.
All right, I gotta keep the tip off or the cover off when I'm using this paint, just because it clogs the tip like a motherfucker. All right, we're gonna just add some blue to the bottom of the thigh plates. You probably can't see it, but I already added some to the bottom of that one, just making it a little bit cooler, knocking back some of that. What's the word I'm trying to say? Some of that airbrush grain. Did any of your locals get into Shatterpoint? Did any of your locals getting into Shatterpoint get a Padawan Ahsoka? She is so solid in game. It's such a blast to paint. I'm not sure. There's actually tonight is actually the night at our LGS for Shatterpoint, or at the very least, people who play it that I am aware of will play it. And so I'm gonna go check them out today and see what they're doing. Where's my toothbrush? Pastry is baked foods with a dough of flour, water, and shortening. That may be savory or sweetened. Cake lacks the solid fats requirement. Is butter not a solid fat?
Yeah, no, I'm pushing back on that one. Most cakes have butter or shortening or lard in them. Additionally, the real reason a hot dog isn't a sandwich is because a hot dog is actually just a description of the filling. A hot dog on a bun is just that, a hot dog on a bun. You're not describing the whole thing, you're actually just describing the piece of meat. Because if you just eat a hot dog, you are not telling a person if you're eating it on bun or not. Skullforge It's the eternal debate. That's what's going on.
Skullford! We were talking about you earlier. What's up?
Yeah. Sci-fi miniatures, I sleep. Arguing over what is or isn't a sandwich, real shit.
I got a little blue toward the bottom of those. Those are going to look real nice when they're all painted up, I think. All right, now I want to do some shading here on the armor panels. But I want to do it like you might do it with a tank, where he has these very specific layers of plate. And I'm going to put a very harsh cover mask so that I get a nice shade toward the bottom of this armor panel, and then I'll remove it and I'll do the exact same thing toward the bottom of that armor panel, and I'll get this beautiful like double gradient, but a subtle one. I don't want to do it too intense, but you know, with these miniatures, we want to overdo your typical contrast.
You don't want to do it too what?
Intense. Say it. Say
Hang on, I gotta walk over to the mic first.
Do it. You won't.
What does Star Wars have to do with camping, Scott?
All right. Okay, I need some paper, I think, is what I need. Look at that, paper. What is this? Oh. Okay, let's cut off a little piece here for our masking purposes. Okay.
Rufus Kit wants to know, have you ever watched anything with the Grand Inquisitor in it?
I haven't, but I think I looked it up last night, actually. I was like, oh, what shows have these models or these characters in them, like cartoon or whatever? And I think it was Obi-Wan, right? Obi-Wan's the only one that has the Inquisitors in them, or at least the only live action one, I think.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
But if you got any recommendations, though, please let me know. I was looking up comics last night that are told from the villain's perspective in the Star Wars universe. And I found a couple. I think Vader has a series. I think Darth Maul has a series. I don't know if I found any other ones, though. Other comic book series specifically. Rebels has the better looking one. What is Rebels?
Rebels is a
Oh, okay. I recommend Rebels. Okay. I can probably get past that.
Man, sometimes I feel like I have brain damage. It would explain a lot.
I'm just trying to cut this angle because I feel like I'm definitely going to get paint on the middle section if I don't have a mask that like wraps around the edge of this little armor panel nicely, at the very least. All right, that's good enough. All right. So yes, doesn't need to be perfect, but I want to hold this down, and I'm going to target that area right at the lower part. And before I do anything, I'm just going to clean off my dry tip, so I don't have to like drop the mask mid airbrush blending and clean it off. That'd be really annoying.
Talk about a mask off moment.
Mask off on the unmasking. Some of the Rebels is kind of a slog, so you only need to watch once though. What's the name of Darth Brawl's? Yeah, nice. Darth Maul's brother, Huge Yanus. Nice. Fallen Order series of video games also. Yeah, because I believe the second is it the second sister or the fourth sister is the main antagonist in Fallen Order?
Something like that.
Does she have the sick helmet in that one?
Oh. I think she did for like one fight, and he punched it off her.
Dang. Okay. We got a little bit.
Shaddy's saying it didn't work.
It worked a little bit. I don't do this very often, so I gotta try it out. Please come out of the airbrush. Oh my god. Okay, well, despite my best attempts to clean off the airbrush so I don't get fucking dry tip, apparently it happens instantaneously.
Is it dry tip or was it a bubble?
I don't fucking know. Fuck the mask. There's a belt right there. That's gonna help us out. Oh god.
All right. I hate this paint. It's official. Fuck this stuff. It works so nicely when it works, and when it doesn't work, it's just so annoying. It's so annoying. All right. We're gonna put some more thinner in.
Someone needs to invent an airbrush that has like a what would you call an ultrasonic emitter inside it?
Just shake stuff loose.
Yeah, you know, like the ultrasonic cleaner vats, right? It's just like keeping a little bit of motion in everything. Same sort of thing. Just a constant churn.
Wouldn't be a terrible idea.
This is like working so terribly. This is not working at all what I'm trying to do. I'm like wiping paint off of the edges and shit. This is so fucking terrible. All right, don't do what I just did. It's such a bad idea. Jesus fucking Christ. I forget
The joys of doing it live.
I forget that airbrush ink is also like kind of a bitch in that it's so easy to wipe it off. And I'm getting like speckling too, and I shouldn't be getting speckling. Like, what's going on? It's called masking tape. Yeah, sure. Masking tape obviously works. It's just I thought that paper would be faster, just because you just gotta hold it there and you're good to go. But maybe it wasn't. Who knows? All right. Well, I'll just fix that with the brush.
Fix it in post.
Fix it in post, indeed. I tried a thing, it didn't work out. I'll learn next time. It's okay. A lot of painters experience dry tip, and it's totally normal. What are you saying? What are you saying, Skullforge? Too much social stigma around it.
Skullforge, I heard a rumor that you have big robots with pouches, but then I went and looked, and I didn't see any big robots with pouches.
I think he's making them. I think that's maybe what he told me.
I need them.
I think there are 2 at the moment, 2 STLs. Okay. I'll start to do some paintbrush painting here. Okay. Do we just start on the white just to try to fix this mild catastrophe?
Start on purple. If you can't keep up with me, you're finished.
I don't know what that's a reference to.
I'm sure someone in chat will be like, oh yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. Okay, we need paintbrush. Here it is, beautiful. I may end up just repainting all these armor panels because none of them really look that great, and just kind of take my learning lesson with me. You know, I tried something, it didn't work out. Really, the airbrush. And maybe the lesson here is that my brush is just a little too dirty and it's not cleaning very well. Sorry, not applying paint very nice and smoothly. So, considering that, I will get me some bearing blue. One of my favorite off-white blue colors. Not off-white, but it's a desaturated blue. Great starting area for blue. And yeah, we'll go from there. Lots of good mechiness and pouchiness in development for Blaster Volume 7. Okay, so Skullforge, is Blaster a magazine? And like the editions just happen to contain full rule sets in them? Is that what that magazine is? I was a little unsure. I thought Electi was sending me a magazine and then he sent me this entire rule set. And so I'm confused what it's supposed to be. That is not water. That is isopropyl alcohol. I should not put that in my wet palette. That'd be very bad.
I don't know. It would help kill the mold.
It probably would do that. You're correct.
a cleansing bath. I put the reference in the chat, boys and girls. It's brain warp. You probably didn't have a brain warp as a kid, Scott.
Brain warp? No, I was not familiar at all.
It's a electronic toy in the vein of Bop It.
I did have Bop It.
It was the less popular Bop It. It was the Bop It at home. It was you might recognize it if I throw it up on the screen. Give me a second here.
Okay. Someone said that it's only a magazine in the sense that it's released on a regular basis, but they're book-like in quality. And yes, I do agree with that assessment. They do feel very, very high quality.
These things. Oh, it would help if it actually took. There we go. Now you should see.
Okay, yeah, I know that thing.
Yeah. If you can't keep up with me, you're finished. Much cooler than a Bop It.
Yep, so the first few issues featured expansions and alternate game modes for games like Gaslands, Brutal, Sludge, and the focus has pivoted to providing basically a full indie game in each issue, and occasionally with STLs. That's really cool. How long are you guys planning on doing this for? And if you haven't checked it out, check out the electi-studio.com website for Blaster, which is a really cool magazine for the hobby. All right. I'm gonna get some white and some pale blue on the palette here. Let's use the Ultra Krill. What up, Death Spawn? We've probably discussed it in the past, but I would love to discuss it again. Why is there not as much love in the hobby space for indie games as there is in the video game space? What do you think, chat? I don't mean to say that in an accusatory way. I just mean
This is your fault, chat.
Yeah, it's not any individual consumer's fault, but there just seems to be more of an interest in AAA titles for war games than there is for.
I want to hone in on what you're saying before people get dragged off on tangents.
Okay.
The way I read what you're saying is not that people are less aware of indie games, but that the indie games they even hear of, they're less motivated and excited to purchase and play.
Yeah, so I guess that's the assumption I'm making, that chat is aware of other games and they are choosing to not invest in them just because of whatever reasons.
And to be clear, I broadly agree with that thesis.
It could be that also people just in general aren't aware of indie games, and that would actually be a really interesting Adepticon video to make just for myself personally. It'd be like, have you heard of this game? Have you heard of this game? Just kind of get a little bit of a census on like what people know about.
Just go around and man on the street it.
Yeah,
Here's a list of 15 games. Which ones have you heard of? Which ones have you not heard of?
Exactly.
What the hell is Warhammer 40,000? Says the guy standing in front of the giant space marine. I'm here to play Guild Ball.
Knowing Greg, the plan is to keep Blaster going forever, and the indie game space is wargaming. And wargaming is big. It's just that the hobby space in general is small. Okay, that's fair. So that's a totally different take. When that totally could also be the truth. I think a level of investment for yourself, and also to have people nearby that are also invested, so you can play with them.
Wildcard says, I think the sheer cost of hobby gaming makes it harder for indie games to make a breakout versus video games. Spend $150 to take a risk on an indie game tabletop, or $60 to chance it on in a studio indie game. And actually, I would say $60 is even on the high side for video games. A lot of indie video games are like $20. Like the success of like BattleBit recently. It's like a $15 game or whatever.
I think cost is definitely fair. Indie games have solo play, where war games are an investment in hoping others will play with you.
Well, kinda.
I'm seeing a lot of people say that they're concerned people won't play with them. Palette cam's bouncing. It's just a normal cam, but yeah, my ear touched it. It grazed it barely. And
one of the downsides to our setup is things are on very long arms. So if they get in motion, it takes a while for them to stop being in motion.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the majority of you guys are saying that it's just because of that investment, that fear that you're not going to have someone to play with, which that's really sad. Like I would love to try to think up a solution to that. And obviously there are some obvious ones, like people can play things online on Tabletop Simulator and things like that.
It's funny you go right to that. A lot of companies cannot abide Tabletop Simulator existing for various licensing reasons and so on.
They cannot abide tabletop.
People develop a mod of your game, but it's infringing intellectual property and so on and so forth.
Interesting.
I think so. Here's part of my thesis, and I want to see if chat backs me up on this. It's not just cost, but it's there's something charming in video games. They can tackle things that are more retro in aesthetic, right? Many indie games are sprite-based rather than advanced 3D powerhouses and so on. But in the miniature hobby space, there's sort of a minimum bar, and a lot of the products from more established companies just deliver directly more value. Like, it's not even... Warhammer, to be clear, is kind of the outlier in the other direction. Delivers like no value for its dollars. But like stuff from CMON, whether you're talking about Zombicide or Song of Ice and Fire or whatever, you get a lot of stuff for your money. A ton. That 2-player starter for Song of Ice and Fire has like 100 minis in it for $80.
Okay, so Evan's theory, in addition to what Chad is saying, is that they just offer, the AAA titles offer more value, more bang for your buck.
In the tabletop space, I think.
Right.
Just because they have that economy of scale.
Okay, Chow, what do you think about that? Well, let me ask you this. How many historical miniature companies do you know? Gale Force 9? Do they make a game? Warlord Games?
Yep.
Those are the ones I know. I think. There's probably some other ones that I can like really, that I know of, I can't recall immediately, but those are the ones that I know of. You should also ask, what is the bare minimum for an indie game? Should it be just rules? Should you provide minis? Then there is an amazing space of mini agnostic games, but for all those, the break-even point for a designer are vastly different.
That's true. I guess when I think about this sort of question, I'm thinking about products you'd buy at retail. And that includes like a book that's a miniature agnostic game, like Saga. We've been talking about playing Saga for a while, and that's it's just a book to get you started. But for the most part, stuff that's carried in stores is going to have stuff, miniatures, tokens, cards, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, solo games. Mike Genie says, like, I spent $130 on Demon Ship stuff just because I knew I was guaranteed to get games in. I'm assuming because that's a solo play game, and that's true. Snarling Badger's most recent game, Majestic 13, is also very much a solo play game.
I don't know how to answer your question, Skullforge Studios. Like, at what point does it become a game or whatever, a miniature war game or an indie war game? It's hard to answer that question. I'm not sure. It's interesting. I'm not sure if answering the question is helpful. I don't know if that's going to get me closer to the answer to my question. Maybe the answer to my question is just kind of like, it is what it is. It's people, they just can't get games with other people, and so they're not going to invest because they're concerned about their investment not panning out. It's so interesting because, like, when I think of like a war game, and maybe this is a me thing, I know I got people that will play games with me as long as I take the reins. And so if I learn the game and if I assemble two armies, and I like teach the game, like, I think I'm pretty confident that I'm going to pick a game that is interesting to my friends, and they'll be interested in investing in. And maybe that's just because I've just gotten lucky a couple times in a row, and people are willing to play the games that I'm willing to play. But yeah, I don't know. Y'all need more friends that are down to clown.
I mean, that's true. We're also extra blessed that we're in the heart of it in the Upper Midwest and yada yada yada. But yeah, there's definitely. I've seen this complaint a lot more in the RPG space, where people are like, I live in the middle of nowhere and no one wants to play D&D with me. And I feel like you probably just either haven't found the right people or haven't really put in the effort to just say, we're doing this. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Here's your character sheet. You're a dwarf. You're a paladin. Figure out what that means.
Amos Dean says, ugh, I'm so sick of being that guy.
Yeah, someone's got to be that guy, though.
I don't mind being that guy. Also, hello, Hydro Acid Clown. Like, when I am excited about a thing, like, that energy just, like, carries me through any barrier. I don't know. I don't got to think about it a whole lot. I'm just so excited to do it, and I just do it. But I do get that. I often will not want to be the guy who has to, like, read the rules and shit and teach the games, like, at board game night and stuff. But, yeah, when I get into a war game, like, I'm just ready to go. Like,
I mean, I won't shut up about Evian. I have personally recruited like 4 people to that game so far.
There you go.
Locally and nationally.
That's kind of the way I see it too, is that really in anything in life, like, chat, you can make whatever you want to happen.
Be the change you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, that might come to the idea of getting people to come to your area to teach display model painting classes, or having a game. Find people in your local area to play. I feel like, yeah, I think if you support it and you make it incredibly easy for people to get involved, and the game is actually good, right? If you pick a shit game and people play it and they think it's shit, then there's no saving that. But yeah, if you follow those steps, normally it works out. Obviously, there are situations where it won't work out because you do live in a tiny area, or no one wants to play the game you want to play, and it is good. So I don't know. There are outliers for sure.
I think that if I was going to, someone was like, I want to make a miniatures game and I want it to be sold in stores, I would say start with a 2-player starter.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Make your 2-player starter a loss leader. You sell expansions, that's where you make the money. The 2-player starter should be a hell of a deal where someone looks at it and goes, holy shit, I get all this? Cool. Me and Travis will play this. It'll be sick. And then you get a few games in with that 2-player starter, and then you go, yeah, we're going to buy more.
That's how you do it. As someone who has 14 Underworld warbands and 13 of which are painted, all my friends played once and were like, yeah, this was cool, but I'm not doing the hobby stuff, LOL. You don't have to, friends. I already painted 13 warbands. Pick whatever fucking one you want. Are your friends? What do you mean? I don't even understand why they would even say that. It sounds like they don't like the game, or they don't want to play, or they want to play something else.
Yeah, people will find rationalizations that they think is a better reason than I don't feel like it.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's also a totally valid thing for people to say. Like, I don't want to play this game because I like other games more, or whatever it may be.
I much prefer that answer because it's a lot more useful to finding things to do together in the future.
Yeah, of course.
Like when I asked Alex if he wanted to go see the Barbie movie. He's like, I'm not really interested. That's a much more useful answer than, sorry, I've got plans. It's like, oh, okay. Not up your alley? Got it. We are steering things towards better understanding. Tubacan says, I've got a few people into war games. I try to start with small scale war games and then push back against something like 40K because it can be so expensive. But then everybody wants the big armies and the big table, but then doesn't want to pay for it or paint it. It can be very easy to bite off more than you can chew.
Yes, this is true.
I feel like Frostgrave is like the perfect Babby's first war game.
Yeah.
10 models, small scale battlefield, but you can throw a bunch of terrain on it. Fun narrative campaigns. Easy. How is Wizard formed? Like this, Mike Genie.
One of the things I like about Shatterpoint is there's enough stuff in the box for 2 people to play a full game, but you need to buy the box. You can actually use all the models and don't need to find someone to buy half of them off you. That's true as well. Also, there's like Tubacan said right before you, Exigent, there's actually more than enough for 2 players to play that game. I actually was a little bit, it was strange when I opened up my Inquisitor box. I was like, oh, there's more models in this Inquisitor box than I need for a squad in my army. Like I don't need all this stuff. And the same is true of the box as well. You have options for list building, so you have more than you need to play.
The value proposition of Shatterpoint is very bizarre because some of the boxes are like I would call good deals, and some of them are very bad deals.
Talking about the Obi-Wan.
Yeah, the Obi-Wan Vader thing.
Yeah.
But I think the Shatterpoint starter is a good example of how to do a starter set. Comes with some terrain, comes with some guys, comes with enough to play the game with 2 people.
Tokens, struggle cards.
Proprietary dice that no one likes.
Yeah, rule books.
And of course, this is made by the same company that made MCP, and MCP has a similar sort of starter, where you got 10 guys in the box, which is enough for 2 people to play. And you've got a little bit of terrain, and you've got all the stuff. And I think they just announced that they're doing a new MCP starter at Gen Con.
They did.
I don't know what's in it.
The exact same models as the first one, but just reposed.
Well, that's good, because the one thing I will say about the MCP starter is the minis in that box are a nightmare to put together. Poses are fine. The actual quality of the plastic is fine. But, like, Miss Marvel is an exercise in futility. Do not try and glue the stupid waving sash thing to her belt. Fuck that. Same characters, different rules, different poses. Yeah, it's fine. That's cool.
It's the same. No, it is the same models, just different poses. It's the same. Sorry, same characters.
Same characters, probably different. Let's go with different sculpts.
Sure, yeah. They're still painted in the same way, though. It's not like they went for a different comic book variant of a character.
Yeah, it's just like standard Spider-Man and standard Doc Ock and
yeah,
standard Red Skull and stuff.
Yeah. Tubicans, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Blinding Light, yes. I'm gonna try and push 2 sides myself. I've got Yapsiga and Shatterpoint that I could probably get friends to try while joining a hobby group to try and find people to play bigger games with. Yeah. I wish Shatterpoint allowed for 2v2 or built rules for 2v2. It'd be epic. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Definitely.
You know what game I want to try 2v2?
MCP.
No.
Xenogenesis.
Well, yeah, but no.
Which one? I don't know. I give up.
Evian.
Evian. Okay.
Catch you later, Skullforge.
See you, Skullforge. Taking forever to do blends. Yes. Now I'm in the pocket again. I love this territory.
On brand.
I love this. I could just sit here and do this forever.
Scott, how fragile are the lightsabers on these guys? Out of 10. Don't ruin it.
I'm trying not to. Okay, just like a generic scale out of 10, I would say they're a 5 out of 10. Because while they are super thin and you absolutely can bend them, as you see, there is some pretty good elasticity to that. So for a lightsaber, it's pretty freaking good, but also it's a lightsaber. So yeah, right down the middle, 5 out of 10.
Did anyone play Star Wars Epic Duels board game? Shatterpoint is making me think of that. Wish I could find my copy. You can always find a copy on eBay.
Speaking of eBay, I started selling some stream equipment that we haven't used in forever, because I want to buy a new camera for our streaming setup.
Stream equipment.
Yes. So there's like a G95 camera that we never use that I put on eBay, and also I put our 2 Elgato capture cards on eBay because we obviously replaced them with Blackmagic.
Oh yeah.
And then I also put we have one DeckLink mini recorder, which is a single HDMI in HD capture card from Blackmagic that hasn't been used in like 6 months.
It's like a duplicate of the one that we have in the system.
Yeah. It's the same one. STL for the handle. It's not an STL. This is made by a company called not Aperture, A-Case. I think this was a prototype, which is why it's obviously 3D printed.
Prototype.
Scott, you should be trading on your name. You should be trading on your name and sell this stuff to your fans Sign the hardware, sell it for retail prices. How is Jeremy doing the capturing? What? Who's Jeremy? What are you talking about?
Smoke is coming out of my ears while I try and figure out what the hell that means.
I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing an obvious joke. I hate that feeling. Blackmagic?
You would hate to be me then.
Craft? Oh, god damn it.
Wait, hold on.
It's a Blackmagic craft joke.
I mean, okay, so whenever I hear
we're-
Jeremy's, I think Blackmagic craft, but I still don't understand how it's a joke.
Because we're using Blackmagic capture cards.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Boo!
Yeah. I got it. I got there.
I only ever say
Cornflake
boo.
Justice just resubscribed with Prime.
Hey, thank you, Cornflake. The only
Once-
reason why I say boo is because I didn't get it, and I feel
Thanks
bad.
for all the content.
8 months of paying. Thanks for the content. You're welcome, Cornflake. Thank you for the sub. Appreciate it.
I love when Scott says the exact same thing I just said.
Oh, I can't hear you because you're over there.
He's just over there behind his computer monitors talking like this, and I can't hear anything, so we're like fucking 15 feet apart.
I'm not doing that at all. You can hear me. I'm quite loud.
Now we're talking like that.
See, the proximity effect on microphones is a thing, Scott.
Yes.
I can be over here mumbling, and I come through clear as day to them.
I know.
That's what we call content.
I love to get other people into war games. The hard part is all the people I know have spent way too much money on 40K and don't want to invest in something else.
Hey, I have an easy proposition to solve that problem. You can get people into other war games in 2 easy steps. Number 1, break into their house. Number 2, destroy all of their 40K stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll be like, man, all my 40K stuff is gone or smashed. I don't know what happened. And you'll be like, that sucks, dude. But you know what's really cheap to get into? And then you point at your war game of choice because they're all cheaper than GW games.
That is an option. You could vandalize. The other option is you could be like, hey, friend, 40K is a wildly expensive war game, and many other war games require you to invest 1/8 of the cost of that into a game. So instead of maybe buying your next army for 40K, just try out this instead. It's like it's the same money you're spending already.
I think
try out a different game.
For the price that you'd spend on one army in 40K, even one of the cheaper armies, you could probably buy a 2-player full army set for most other games.
Yeah. And then when they tell you, oh, I don't want to do that. And you're like, oh, okay. You still want to play other games other than 40K.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it comes down to, really.
You just
Step 1, crime. Step 2, profit?
Yeah. I mean, like, there's the other option, too, which is you go, okay, cool. So you have your insert 40K faction here. Let's try this rule set instead. Let's check out one-page rules.
Yeah, one-page rules 5.
Look at this. They have something that matches up with your very angry guys in power armor. Cool. And I will play this totally not Tyrannid faction.
Yeah, then Lion says, I offered to buy a farm for someone and they didn't want it. Yeah, that's not money, that's the problem then. It's just an unwillingness to play the game. Which is fine, that's fine. So then for me, the question becomes, why don't you want to try something else? Is it just too much of an ask? It's like, oh God, I don't want to do that. I've already
Couldn't possibly
invested.
learn any other rules.
I mean, maybe that's it. And that's, honestly, if that's the answer, that's totally fine. You can have any answer you want to that question. I'm just curious what the answer is for most war gamers. And yeah, it sounds like...
Any answer is fine, but that doesn't mean that I won't shit on someone for having a pretty flimsy answer.
But that's not how you get people to play your games, though, Evan. You can't shit on them when they don't want to play.
You know, you say that, but I've had a pretty good track record of getting people to play games with me.
After shitting on them?
Including after shitting on them.
I don't believe you.
Scott, I shit on you all the time. We play games.
Do we?
Not that much.
Do people play war games for money reasons? I feel like overwhelmingly it's about having a cool community and cool models. Dude, it's a 3-page booklet instead of the textbook we normally use. That I really do think that GW really has spoiled a lot of wargamers. Not spoiled, that's the wrong word to use, but just like they've taught them that war games can be a certain way. And that
They've salted the earth.
They've salted the earth, and in doing so have secured their position on top. But not all war games have to be like 40K, and in fact, many of them aren't like it.
It's like an abusive relationship.
Yeah, I've
Where
definitely
someone's
heard.
like clearly been with someone for too long, so they can't like see that things would be better if they just left.
Yeah, there is something like that. Again, I don't want to say that 40K is abusive. I mean, let's relax here. It's not abusive.
Okay.
But it
We
is.
have different opinions on this.
It is annoying that people, when they think of war games, relate it to GW games, because like it could be so much more than that. But yeah, as Evan describes all capitalism, yeah.
Kinda.
To be fair, the 10th edition rulebook is actually pretty light. I bet it is. But there's so much more baggage to a GW game than just the rule system. Like there's so much more to it. There's endless downloadable PDFs that change the rules. There's endless books. There are just floodgates of models constantly coming out. The factions themselves are large and expensive to invest into. There's a lot that comes with the territory of playing a GW war game. That does not come with territory of playing many other games. And so yeah, when you want to get your friends into playing a game, they just think of it through the lens of 40K. Have I checked out Wild West Exodus? Insert Obi-Wan quote about, no, that's the name I haven't heard in a long time. I used to know what that was, and I didn't used to know what it was. I was familiar with it back in the day. I don't know anything about the game, but yeah, they kind of floated out of existence as far as I'm aware.
Website seems pretty real.
Good. They just stopped coming to Adepticon, I guess. I think a lot of things you just said are positives to people. Endless downloadable PDFs, having to constantly buy books, and expensive armies. I don't think any of those things are positives to anyone, if I'm being quite frank. Yes, the camera is rocking. Let me get a second here to slow her down. Now, feel free to argue your point, though, because maybe you heard something that I said that I didn't intend to say. The cameras are rocking, so don't come a knocking. 40K isn't abusive. It can change anytime it wants. James Workshop told me.
Yeah, GW can change.
Yeah.
It can change. If I just give it a little bit more time.
Large armies, lots of rules, lore. Again, games can have depth, but not require the annoying investment of a war game that 40K has taught gamers exists and is to be expected. I feel like obviously Star Wars, for instance, we're painting a Shatterpoint model. Let's talk about Star Wars. Obviously the lore of Star Wars is very fucking deep. So that is a fine, that comparison doesn't make much sense. And then rules. Rules is an interesting thing to bring up too, because like again, rules can be interesting and complex and verbose, and just also just be a good game. But now we're getting into different things. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. But I think when I was talking, I meant specifically like the cost, like how long it takes to paint, all that stuff. How confusing the rules can be at times, stuff like that.
Eon's Battle says, how many games actually have a competitive scene? Like Malifaux is played competitively, and because of that it has erratas and update PDFs.
I guess define what you mean by competitive scene.
Yeah, I think that's a very quixotic question.
Because like honestly, based on my definitions, no game in this space has a competitive scene.
Okay, now I'm really curious. What do you mean by that, Scott?
I mean, there's no audience really for competitive wargaming, as far as I'm aware.
Is an audience required for it to be competitive?
I mean, I kind of feel that way. For a competitive scene to exist, people need to play it. And so then the other thing is this: is that it's one comment. Here's more comments that are more compelling. I think that a lot of people I think I'm speaking too fast. I need to slow down.
Collect your thoughts, form an argument, destroy me.
Give me a second. I don't know. I totally lost my train of thought.
All right. I think so. Exigent Midnight says, just look at events like Nova and LVO. There are a ton of tournaments for non-GW games there. I think that in order for a game to be competitive, it can't just be that there happen to be tournaments for your favorite game a couple times a year.
I agree with this.
In order for something to be actually competitive, there should be players who are well known and compete at multiple or all of the events and reliably are able to win and comment on why they win.
I think also something important is like the developer and how they're involved in the game and like how much they care about balance and how committed they are to that. And also results in tournaments. If we're seeing a 30% swing in win rates from your worst playable faction to your best, your game isn't competitive. It's a joke.
So is balance required
Yes.
for something to be competitive?
Yes.
Okay. Lil Redbot says, OMG Miniac, hi.
Hi.
I just got an Imperial Knight, and I love your video about the Renegade Knight.
Nice.
And I wanted to ask you, what magnets do you use for the multiple weapons?
I don't have like a magnet provider. I kind of just use whatever magnets I have. And so I get a lot of my magnets from Cobalt Keep, for instance. But I know a lot of people like the Magnet Baron. So I've never used them, but a lot of friends that I have in the space have that person as a sponsor, and I would hope that means that they make quality stuff, or at least have a good website, a good checkout process, good customer service. Otherwise, my friends wouldn't be taking them as sponsors. But never use them, so take that recommendation with a grain of salt.
Also, GPPK resubscribed at Tier 1. Trapped Under Plastic, best podcast. Miniac, second best host.
Thanks for the sub.
Okay, so back to competitive play. All right, so
only JB games have competitive games? No, absolutely not. Their games are a joke when it comes to balance, and they'll never be balanced, as far as I am observing. So I don't think GW games are like competitive in the sense that I want them to be competitive. Ultra balanced.
Mike Genie actually makes exactly the point I was going to make next, which is people play competitive Magic on Friday nights at tons of local game shops.
Sure.
But if there weren't also regional championship qualifiers and tournaments feeding into a larger tournament and a governing body managing, judging, and balance issues, it wouldn't be a real competitive game in my mind. So I broadly agree with that. However, the one thing I will say is I don't think the game actually has to be balanced to be competitive. And I will actually point at esports. Like, yeah, Valve takes an active hand in balancing things like Dota. They're going to fix bugs, anyone who's vastly overpowered or whatever. But the metagame exists in such a way because the game isn't balanced, right? There are champions that don't have an adequate role in the competitive scene because they're too weak to certain matchups and so on and so forth. So there is some form of balance, but the idea that it must be balanced, I think, is an easy trap to fall into. And many competitive war games are about as balanced as video games. It's just the top competitors recognize that there are bad factions, and you don't play those factions if you want to be a top competitive player. And I think that that's just as true for esports.
I think that you can have bad matchups in a war game, and that honestly, for the diversity of the game, that should exist 100%. But your win rate, if you are good and your opponents are the exact same skill level, and you play an even distribution of the teams, should be within 5% of 50%. All things considered.
Do you think that's true for all the heroes in Dota 2?
It is. It is true.
And in fact, when a hero is outside of 5%, it's bad. Like it's considered an anomaly. And so you might see things like at specific events, like maybe at TI, you'll see a hero that like gives maybe like a 60% win rate or 55% win rate. But like if you look at like high ranked MMR gameplay, everything falls in this 50 to 55, 45% percentile.
Right, but part of that is the contribution to the entire team composition.
Yeah, definitely. But there's also just so many games being played, and there's so many compositions that I feel like if there were a disparity, you would discover it in the hundreds of thousands of millions of Dota games that are being played.
Okay. Thank you very much for the info. I can't wait to show my friends my sick metal and movable Imperial Knight. Thank you, Miniac.
You're welcome. I think, yeah, there's definitely a lot of the opinion that I have about what makes a game competitive is not the same for everybody, and it doesn't have to be. But like when I think of a competitive game, that's what I want it to be. But that being said, whenever I play any game, I'm still a fucking tryhard. I still try to win. And you can consider that to be competitive. Kind of depends on how you want to define it. Which is why I asked Jay when he first asked the question, how do you define competitive?
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's just it. This is what I'm honing in on, is like, I think GW would basically agree with your premise. You know, when they put out MetaWatch articles, that range that you're talking about is sort of their threshold.
Yeah, that's their metric.
Yeah, 45 to 55. Anything that's sitting outside of that for more than like one snapshot is probably a problem and either needs help or hurt.
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't think that there's anything wrong with a game that has dead ends. And card games are a perfect example of that, where there are clearly better choices that more experienced will gravitate towards. If it's too pervasive, then everyone's playing the same two decks forever. Flesh and Blood has had that problem in the past, and so has Magic. But like every set of competitive card games will have a bunch of cards that are just kind of dead weight, and people who understand the game will know not to put them in their decks. But that doesn't make them not competitive games.
Sure. A bunch of heroes just got nerfed in Dota because they were overbuffed. I mean, that happens literally every single patch.
Yeah.
You put a patch out, and then there's a bunch of like small patches that say A, B, C, D, E with the same like major and minor version. Those are just small changes after they made a big gameplay change to balance the characters that are abusing the new system. So yeah, that stuff happens. But like when you get into like the letter C, D, E territory of the patch, the changes stop coming out as quickly, and everything kind of levels off. But there is definitely a period of time when when Valve makes large changes to the game, that there are characters that are definitely more OP than admissible, or that then should be allowable for competitive play in my fantasy world that I'm defining right now.
You definitely have a big spot of blue paint on your lip, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm doing some bad like paintbrush licking to do this particular kind of blending that I'm doing right now. I shouldn't be doing it, but I am.
Anyway, by my metrics, I think there are quite a number of miniature war games that do qualify as competitive.
Yeah.
But
which ones?
I mean, Song is one of them. Even though I think the competitive balance of Song is not good. That's fine. It's still a competitive game. Definitely has some trap choices that can be made, though.
You know, I think I had a thought while I was sitting here and talking about competitive games and war games and video games. I feel like maybe the pain of unbalance is more easily felt in a war game, because if my favorite character in Dota, Void Spirit, is not good anymore, it takes zero work to try a different character out. Whereas in a war game, it's like, well, I'm kind of stuck with this.
until my models get better, or I go through the process to make a whole new ass army.
Right, or I have to put post-it notes on my army and tell my friend that I'm actually playing
Yeah.
Starks or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a little challenging to deal with balance in a war game. Not only because of that, but also because of, like, if I want to make a change to a video game, it's so easy, and for a war game, it's not easy at all.
I guess it depends on the video game, because there are games where changing a hero costs money. You know, like League of Legends. I think Apex, you have to earn unlocks for heroes still, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, I really, as it turns out, I'm not having a good time with this hero because they nerfed their ability, or they just don't play the way I want them to, or whatever. But in order to earn the next guy, I either have to pay $8 or play another 40 games with this hero I don't like.
Yeah.
Dota 2 is the champion in this way because they just go, yeah, you have all the heroes.
Right.
Would you like to buy pairs of gloves?
Legion's quite competitive. Lots of out-of-the-box thinking lists either make it quite high or outright winning tournaments. Meta lists do very well, but it isn't necessary to play one. How do I feel about soft scores in competitive play? Painting/hobby, etc. I'm not sure what the painting/hobby means appended to your question.
I think they're referring to, like, at a tournament when they go, in addition to the, 5 points per round you can score depending on the nature of your win, you also get points for having these boxes checked on your army. Like, is it painted? Is it painted well? Does it have these?
Oh. Yeah, that shouldn't exist, probably.
Yeah, I hate that garbage.
You probably shouldn't, like, win a tie-breaking tournament just because you painted your army and the other person didn't. And
or because you did some painting technique that your opponent didn't.
Right. And I mean, that's coming from a person who loves painting models. I mean, it's kind of a separation of church and state here, right? It's like, I should win because of my tactics, because of everything regarding tactics, not because of hobbying.
I agree. And more broadly, I actually think that while I understand where the painted army requirement comes from, I think it's overall detrimental to a competitive play environment.
Yeah.
Where really all that should matter is, playing the game.
Yeah.
Separation of game and paint. I like it.
Yes. Love it. 0% game skill involved shouldn't be competitive for the game itself. Yeah, I would say people should not be playing competitive, rock, paper, scissors. Meanwhile, Evil Scott, I love soft scores and having the best super cool painted models should give me 50%. Yeah, of course.
I'm fine with painting competition in that regard. If they wanted to make the actual final tiebreaker, like quality of paint, fine. But the idea that you can't progress past the third tier of the tournament if your army's not painted is dumb. The only reason to use it as a tiebreaker is it's like all of our competitive metrics have failed and you guys are exactly equal. And we have the one final tiebreaker, which is we just look at your models and whoever has the better painted mini is going to be declared first and the other one second. But that's after it's yep, same points destroyed, same points scored over the thing, same strengths of schedule, etc., etc., etc.
Precisely.
Mike Genie, I don't even think it's that. GW coverage and sponsorship, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't actually think it's that important to a lot of these events. It's a nice luxury, but most of them, the prize support that they're provided is not nearly all of the prize support that they're given, and most people aren't playing for those prizes. When I'm walking through Adepticon and it's the Age of Sigmar tournament and everyone's got these sweet painted armies and I look at the prize table and there's some cool stuff there, but mostly it's Dominion boxes that have been sitting around for 2 years. These players already all have that. It's the same thing that when I played at the the super regionals for Song of Ice and Fire, and I took 3rd place, and I won a bunch of song stuff that I already had. And yeah, it's worth a little bit of money. Don't get me wrong. I sold it to another player locally that wanted it for like $200. That's fine. I appreciate it. It's nice. It's good to have support from the company. But like, if there wasn't a prize, that'd be fine too. It wouldn't be a big deal. I have won at tournaments, and instead of taking a starter, I'll take like a attachments box or something, just because I think a newer player could actually use the product. I think a lot of players do that at these bigger tournaments.
Yeah. Also, I think an opportunity to add this thought on: if you want to run a tournament and you want there to be a requirement for painting, that's totally fine. Like, if that's the kind of tournament it is, like, you can make that decision. I have no issue with someone doing that. But I do think that if it contributes to your score, that then makes you higher or lower than your other people who didn't do the hobby stuff, then that's just not how it should work, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at. If there's a minimum bar to entry, like the 3-color rule or whatever, that's fine. You know, you want to make sure that people put in the same minimum amount of effort into their armies. I get it. But is it a competitive event or is it a narrative event? If it's a narrative event, then how you look matters. You know, like, absolutely. You got to not just win, but you got to win in style.
Yeah. And like, I think a lot of people don't share the opinion that Evan and I are sharing right now, which is like, you have to paint your stuff to play in a tournament. I think a lot of hobbyists really like that requirement, and they like playing against other armies that have, fully painted armies, fully based, and look cool, and it helps with the immersion and stuff like that. But yeah, I've got 2 different kinds of brains. Like, when I'm playing a game, like, I could literally play with just bases. I don't even need the models, honestly. But of course, I like painted models. I love playing with painted models. That is my preference, but it shouldn't contribute to a competitive result.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea of everyone having fully painted everything, but I like the idea of someone being made to feel bad about not being fully painted a lot less. Sure, yeah.
Tell that to Curtis.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth of it is we also get a lot of shit for not having painted models on the game stream here.
Oh, for sure.
On the other hand, I will say we're not a competitive wargaming channel. We're a painting channel,
Sure.
first and foremost.
Yeah.
So, fine, fair enough.
I feel like, I feel like I should have kept the white, or I shouldn't have painted it blue first and then painted it white. These chest plates of armor are very difficult to paint. The thigh area and like this shoulder area was very easy. The curves are nice, but this like angular, like flat panels, I'm really struggling with right now. I don't think I could bring myself to play with unpainted models, but I wouldn't care what other people do. That's fine. I see zero issue with playing with unpainted models. It doesn't like, I mean, I can paint models well. I'm pretty comfortable with my ability to paint minis, so I don't feel like painting with unpainted models is like a reflection of like how good of a painter I am or my level of commitment. I'd actually love to break that thought open a little bit. Panic Bomb Arcade. Why can't you bring yourself to play with unpainted minis? Like, you make it sound so reprehensible. Why does it feel so bad to do that? At least
Tradition.
Sure, but yeah, there's got to be more to it than that.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of these answers and social mores boil down to just tradition. We've always done it this way.
Yeah.
And that's GW swinging its thing around too, where it's like
swinging its thing around.
You just get used to how GW does things, and so you kind of expect the same things from other war games. Excuse me. Yeah, for sure, Jimmy Hayes. We have always done it this way, is the bane of my existence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What do you mean do it differently? We've been doing it this way for 24 years. Kratzberg, that's fine. Actually, hang on. It's probably fine. If it's a tournament sponsored by the company that makes the game, I do respect them requiring you to actually have bought into the game to play.
De Kratzberg, I would be totally fine with that in a situation where the intention is that they are eventually going to purchase those models. Because, like, I don't know, I kind of think of it the same way as I think of playing with bases with no models on the bases. It's kind of like I'm excited to play the game right now, and I want to play it right now. But I mean, I have all the models assembled, or I may not have purchased all the models. And so if you need to use like a piece of paper on top of a movement tray, like whatever, I don't fucking care. As long as like that's not a forever thing, then I think I'm okay with that.
I can't remember that. Let's just look at my messages because I was talking to someone about it today.
I too had issues with the chest plates and ended up repainting it 3 times before finding something I was very happy with. Yeah, it's gonna take me a while. The curved plates are much easier to paint, but yeah, I'm gonna have to nurse these just a little bit longer. I should have what I should be doing. I think the better play here is to paint the chest white first, and then shade down with blue. I've tried that once before, actually on the Sisters of Battle Heavy Metal Marines episode. That's what I did, and I kind of struggle with that, but I think that'd be an easier place to start from than what I'm doing right now. And I kind of almost want to just base coat the chest with an airbrush with some white ink, and then just start from there instead of repeatedly doing what I'm doing and messing up.
I'm dying.
Are you?
I think so.
What's happening?
I don't know. I just feel like the life is draining out of my eyeballs.
Damn.
I know, right? It's pretty crazy.
This is pretty crazy. Playing any Baldur's Gate? I am not, but Evan is. I think it's a priority thing because if it's unpainted, I put my time into painting something else instead of the unpainted ones. What? I think it's a priority thing because if it's unpainted, I put my time into painting something else instead of the unpainted ones. I don't know what you mean.
Hang on.
Paint Bomb Arcade.
I think it's a priority thing because if it's unpainted, I put my time into painting something else instead of the unpainted. I don't get it. I'm also trying to unpack this and I don't understand the statement.
Help us out.
Panic Bomb Arcade, can you please try again?
Nice. Let us know what you meant. I also have friends that won't play games that don't have proprietary minis.
No mini agnostic games.
So yeah, I think I felt like that at a certain point. And I don't know what about my brain changed, but there's just so many amazing models out there in the world, and like if I need to pick models for a game, that's sure, I'll do that. That's fine. I don't care to do that or care to not do that. Honestly, when it comes down to it, if I'm going to play a game, the army I'm playing is going to look awesome. I don't care if the game's agnostic or not. I'm going to pick models for the thing that I'm excited to paint and that are good for my faction. So for instance, the fifth brother has a stupid helmet in this Jedi Inquisitor unit that I am starting to paint right now. It's terrible. So I reached out to Skullforge, and he's sculpting me a new helmet for that dude. And I don't care if it's not canon. I don't care if, whatever, X, Y, and Z. It'll just be, it'll work for me. I'll make it good for me. That's kind of how I just approach every game I play. It doesn't need to be labeled as agnostic or not. Every game's agnostic to me. In concept, I like miniature agnostic, but in reality, I find myself drawn to games because they have minis I want to play with. Yes, that's absolutely fair as well. As a thought. Maybe a better way to say it is, if it's unpainted, it hasn't excited me. Okay, so you're not saying that the motivation for you to paint something isn't necessarily because you haven't because you have some kind of holier than thou attitude. It's that you are just so excited to see that thing being painted, and so you're going to paint it. Period. I can kind of get that.
I guess. It's hard for me to visualize in my mind's eye, but I get it.
Yeah. I mean, surely there's situations where you want to try out a new unit, and it's the day of, and you don't have, or 3 days of, time to paint the whole unit. It's are you really going to not play the game when your friends are available to play just because you haven't painted it yet?
Slogonic says, having the minis painted also gets me more excited about playing the game. All right, so I agree on this.
I agree, yeah.
However, there's a gigantic asterisk. Nothing feels worse in miniature wargaming than going through all of the trouble to paint a unit and playing it one time and realizing that it's complete ass and you're never going to use it again.
Complete ass.
Where you go, oh,
shit.
This is shit. I just wasted between 2 and 10 hours of my life on this unit.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm a Night's Watch player, so that hasn't happened to me much. But,
fuck.
Yeah. On the other hand, if you're shout out to my Greyjoy players or Stark players.
Stark and Greyjoy. Feels bad, man.
Yeah, but the problem with Cornflake Justice is right now sometimes lasts a short period of time, and sometimes it just seems to stretch on forever. Yeah, getting too attached to one faction identity or one army. I mean, in Warhammer, it's hard not to, because of the fact that they're constantly pushing older stuff out. Where it's oh yeah, that's going into Legends. Oh yeah, that doesn't even have a data sheet anymore or whatever. And it's so expensive to get into a second or third force. But for a lot of games, for Song, I think it's entirely reasonable to have 2 or 3 armies. Because for the price of one robust Warhammer army, you can probably have about 3 Song armies. So you can, I've got an offensive faction, I've got a defensive faction, I've got some neutrals, whatever. Lummox Beast, you'll have a good time. Renly and Cavalry, you play light on your feet and offensive. It's not necessarily the best choice, but it's a fun choice, and that's what matters. Particularly as you're starting the game. Stannis side tends to just be kind of you stand there, live up to the name, Standus.
Standus.
It's not entirely true, but it is I would say the most passive faction is Stannis side Baratheon in Song of Ice and Fire.
Ecstasy in Service says, well, if you didn't finish painting something and go to play with it, that's fine. But if you've been playing that unit for a month and still not paying, I'm going to give you some shit.
That's also fair. I like seeing other players make progress on their armies. More people are painting their Song stuff locally, which is nice. If you message me on the Discord, Lumix, I can give you like a what I'd recommend to buy first, what to buy next, don't buy this kind of tier list.
I must have put my finger right there. And
Delicious
aced.
fingerprints.
Yeah, just aced all the airbrush gradient.
I will say, I just don't use ink anymore through my airbrush. I feel like it always is just too fragile. I guess if I varnished over it before I started doing anything, it would be fine, but
And waited a day.
yeah, I'm not patient enough for that. I mean, Colossus is like the first thing that I haven't painted in like 1 or 2 sessions, so in a long time.
Oh, I'm gonna keep touching the back of his cape, and it's gonna keep getting fucked up. Damn it! I should have thought about that, honestly.
Mike G, you are correct. Yeah, I've been hanging out in that Mobile Arms channel on Blackside Studios. And then, of course, Armored Core comes out in like a week. God, I've got to finish Baldur's Gate before Armored Core comes out, or I'm really just going to, like, die. For real. Yeah, my only criticism of that game so far is that the robots aren't even bigger. 60mm bases. What if they were on 100mm bases? Cats are best friends now, Lumix Beast. How are the dogs, Scott?
I don't have the dogs.
Oh, the dogs are with your wife on the adventure?
Yeah, actually, it's actually kind of crazy. It is really strange to not have to worry about somebody else, any other creature. Like I don't have to close any doors because dogs are gonna eat things. I don't have to do things that my wife like prefers because of her preference. Where like they're not required things to do for any particular reason other than she just likes it a certain way.
Scott is now crapping with the bathroom door open.
Yeah, all those things. Things just like that, exactly. It's just like I'm
Eating cereal out of a salad bowl.
Exactly, you know? Like certain dishes getting clean immediately. Like I can live in a little bit of filth, you know? So it's crazy. It's
Scott's gonna join me in living in squalor. I have to do a bunch of fucking cleaning. I'm dying. A lot of things are killing me, apparently. So Mickey from Stats is going to stay at my place for like half of the tournament.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, except that means that I have to do a lot of cleaning.
Okay.
Like repaint my bathroom.
Wow.
I get a little bit of mold in my bathroom every like 3 years.
Yeah, I do too. I just kill it with some bleach.
Yeah.
I get like tiny little spots on the ceiling of my bathroom, and so I just kind of like sponge on some bleach, and they just disappear instantly.
Yeah. That has not held up for more than like a couple weeks for me when I
Oh,
tried it
yeah?
in the past. So I hit it with the kills.
My 23-year-old son has been throwing away forks because he's so damn lazy. Okay, I am not that bad.
That's fucked up.
That is hilarious, though.
That is why the planet is dying.
Scott living the true bachelor life. Sorry for making you put pants on for today's stream. Yeah, what the fuck? I mean, I got gym shorts on. But...
Yeah, I was about to say, you're implying that Scott's wearing pants right now. You can't see below the waist.
Yeah.
This may as well be Scott's home. That's why he was so shocked to see that guy peering in through our weird upper window above our door.
Yes.
I will say, I saw that movement over there, and I'd like, at the corner of my eye, and I thought it was like a big bug or something, and then you went, there's a guy in the door.
Majar Aznabal says, also been work lurking. You have convinced me to sell all my models? I
What?
have? Why? What did I do? What did I say? I didn't mean to. You should try Children if you want to really appreciate how much you can't enjoy 60 minutes to yourself. No, I think I have a pretty good idea about how miserable that is. So I don't want to experience that. Sounds like you have a ventilation and moisture problem. Yeah, definitely a moisture problem for sure. Mike Genie says...
Sorry, hang on. Let me...
He did it. Mike Genie says that nice. I'm not supposed to kill mold with bleach because it's mostly water. That, in principle, sounds reasonable, but in practice, it's worked. You know, I use the bleach kind of like once a year, and then it kind of comes back roughly in a year, and then I do it again. So it's kind of working-ish. But yes, I do have a ventilation
Maybe it doesn't
problem.
kill it. It just turns the mold white.
Or that. Yeah, that could be happening.
It's secret mold.
Secret mold.
Hello. Lemon spray, then just buy a new shower curtain. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm confident in what I'm doing. The bigger thing is, like, I haven't really, like, I've got, like, water stains in my tub because I've been living alone for 2 years. Don't even have a roommate anymore. So I don't care if there's a little bit of, like, yellowing underneath the faucet. And I'm like, oh, no, got to make it look good.
Yep.
Got to have the house spick and span for house guests.
That's kind of cool.
No,
So-
I hate it, man.
Well, it's good to have that motivation every once in a while.
Just want to burn it down.
I went camping over the weekend, and it was like gonna rain, and you could tell it was like about to start. And we like walked somewhere to go see a waterfall because we didn't mind if it like rained a little bit. And then when we came back to our campsite, the people that we were tenting or camping with, their rain cover blew off of their tent and soaked the entirety of the inside of their tent in rain. Luckily, we were 30 minutes away from our house, and so we just drove there and dried all the sheets and like whatever bedding they had. And then we slept the night at our house, and then the following morning, my wife and my friend's wife decided that they were just gonna stay there. And so then me and my friend Ian had to drive back to the campsite and pack all the tent and shit back up and then drive back home.
Very cool.
It was the biggest camping fail I've ever experienced.
How did you fare in the hailstorm?
There was no hail, strangely, at our campsite, which was amazing because I saw some insanely large hail.
It was a very narrow band, and it absolutely turbo fucked one of my clients' houses.
I'm super glad that it didn't happen to like any of our cars or our houses.
Cracked windshields on multiple cars throughout the neighborhood and stuff. But
Yeah.
the big one is they have sunroofs on the house,
Oh.
and they became well ventilated from the hail.
Name is Dot. Hey, need some help. I've been painting for almost a year now, and I still haven't found a sure way to
Perfect.
get the consistency to highlight what I need. It either comes out way too watery, or it looks fine on the palette, and then it doesn't want to leave the brush at all. I mean, you just described two polar opposite spectrums of paint paint dilution, and surely you can strike somewhere in the middle of those two. The paint not coming out of your brush at all, and also being super watery. I never have a good answer to this kind of question.
Yeah, that's always a good suggestion. I think Citizen Perfect getting some medium or flow improver or what have you to experiment with rather than just using water, depending on the paint range, can help a lot.
What size brush do you use? Name is Dot.
That was the next place I was gonna go.
What do you?
It dries from the palette to the model super fast. I'm guessing that the answer is going to be something very small. And I'm further going to guess that you live in a hot and or dry place.
Yeah, he or she uses a series size 7. And Kalinsky brushes are smaller.
Series 7 size 1, you mean?
Yeah, Sable Winsor & Newton Series 7 brushes are much smaller than other brushes. I would consider using a size 2. Using a bigger brush is going to solve some problems. You could also use some artificial additives to extend the dry time if you wanted to as well, beyond just the normal paint. I use a bigger brush with a fine tip and by humidifier. Also, you could do that. You can do a humidifier in your painting area to solve that problem.
Huge humidity makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know.
Also, it can come down to what paint you're using.
Yes, indeed.
I found that a lot of my difficulties with getting thinning right and getting painting right went away when I moved away from Army Painter and started using other brands.
Stop painting in hell.
Yeah.
Portugal, yeah, you're gonna. I mean, it's pretty humid there. I think it's not too arid. Small brush dries fuckery with AC on dry weather. Yeah, you're fucked. Yeah, get a bigger brush, get a humidifier, keep the AC on. I have a question for anyone here. For resin printed models, what do you do if you are wanting to paint them before you get the bases done? How do you mount them? Pin them. Drill a hole in their heel or a flat part of the base. Put a paper clip cut to length in the foot and skewer it into some
Cork or something?
Yeah, wine cork. Having a buddy blast you with a heat gun while you're painting. Yeah, that would definitely be worse.
Sounds hot.
Nice.
Got him.
Nice. All right. Now that I've painted the thigh plate over here just in pure AK Interactive pastel blue, instead of bearing blue, my shadow color, I will now come back in with my shadow color and just try to glaze in some of that dark blue color toward the bottom. And then I'll come in with some white and I'll add a little bit of highlight at the top, as opposed to starting from the darkest color and building up from there.
Another thing that's worth mentioning is people in climates like that complain that their wet palettes don't last long enough. And I have heard, though I have not experimented with, cold palettes being better for an environment like that than a wet palette. I know Dr. Faust has like a guide on that. And there are some people that swear by it, many of which live in the fucking desert.
A cold palette is just literally a physically cold palette.
It's basically you take a like a ceramic tile and put it on ice or an ice pack.
What if you just did a wet palette with ice cold water?
I think you could do that too, honestly.
Okay.
But there is some amount of evaporation, even of just like straight ice, into a dry enough climate. So, does Duncan Rhodes use it? I don't know if he uses a cold palette. He might just use a tile.
I think he just uses a hard plat because he's a masochist.
No, he's a true artist.
Yeah.
It's got the thumb hole and everything.
Oh, he has that kind of palette.
Yeah, sublimation, this is more complicated because it's not... It's only sublimation if it goes from a solid to a gas, right?
Are we discussing sublimation in chat right now? Is
this
AP chemistry again?
Yeah.
Holy cow. Let's go. I'm ready.
I could be wrong, but I thought sublimation is basically where it skips a phase change. I
can't remember it all.
Yeah, and so I'm talking more about the fact that even if you keep water at like a cool 35 degrees, there will be some amount of evaporation regardless if your air is dry enough. Yeah. There's just some state change that happens. And it's, I think, still just regular evaporation.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I even experienced that here.
Anyway, a cold palette is supposed to address that problem, where if you're in a very, very dry and very hot environment, you're just gonna be losing moisture to the air as it comes in and goes, yoink, I'll take that moisture.
Yoink.
And so, like, I think the Dr. Faust cold palette is like literally like a medical ice pack, like one of those gel packs. And then you put that in like a plastic tub for a mild amount of insulation, so it's not like resting on something that's going to suck up a bunch of the coldness out of it. And then you put a ceramic tile on top, and then you put the paint on top of the ceramic tile, and the ceramic tile remains cold. And so you get very minimal evaporation of the paint because that paint remains at the same temperature as the tile, which is roughly at the same temperature as the ice pack. Still going to get some evaporation there. It's not magic, but I know some people, like people in Arizona, seem to swear by it. So, but we're in Minnesota, so yeah, it would encourage condensation too. But I think the real key is that it's you do it in environments where you'd be lucky to be getting condensation.
Okay, it's important at some point.
Jay has returned.
Jay!
I shot some thumbnails and did some thinking on what competitive wargaming means.
Ooh.
I'm excited to return to this topic.
He's figured it out.
As usual, Eon's Battle has the answers 3 times a week.
3 times?
In front of a live studio audience.
Okay. It's important to do this.
A little bit of black lining.
Yeah, just to see where we're at.
A little bit of baklava.
My new favorite is baklava.
When I say competitive, it's how the game feels to play. Kill Team really punishes you for mistakes, so it forces you to try hard, where a game like Dead Zone and maybe Shatterpoint don't.
Okay, so it's a feeling, and that feeling comes from what it feels like to mess up in the game and how punishing that failure can be. So if I can say this, let me know if I'm wrong or not, Jay, but is it fair to say, can we do some set theory here? Is it fair to say that if a game is very punishing gameplay-wise, then it is more competitive? Can we bridge those two, or no? Does that not work for you? Retro Evil Inc. Thank you for the Prime sub, sir. Appreciate it.
I just realized we didn't do like any calls to action today. What the hell are we doing?
We're just painting minis, man.
I guess.
We're just hanging out.
Very professional.
No shilling today. Just hanging.
I'll shill you tomorrow.
That sounds super right to me. Chess is super competitive, and a single bad move surely loses the game if both players know what they're doing. Jimmy Hayes, and also everyone who is adopting this opinion, or think it is the right opinion, I feel like if you are better at the game, the moves you make feel worse when they are bad. When I am bad at A Song of Ice and Fire, I don't know what I'm doing is bad. But because I've played a lot of games with Greyjoy, I know if I'm in a certain way and I have a certain hand of cards that, like things can feel worse. Or I am more tuned into there being a problem because I am more aware of what all the problems are.
It's definitely a you don't know what you don't know kind of thing.
Yeah, so I would be careful to use that metric as a definition of competitive, because then for you, competitive is just whatever games you play the most. But I want to see if Jay agrees with how I jumped the gap there.
It's just a hit and run.
Just a hit and run.
He's just gonna post his opinion and then be like, "Yep, I'm right. See
I'm
ya."
not- No, we're discussing the state changes of solids to liquids to gases. I think so. I'm less likely to try and introduce a civilian to kill team, but I would play root with my mom.
A civilian?
Yes. A civilian.
Service guarantees citizenship, and the service is playing kill team. Thank you for your service, gamer.
Oh no, I'm not doing my part.
Yeah. All right, I have my own main definition of what makes a game competitive. I think, giving it some time to ruminate. I think what makes something competitive is at its core if skill expression is the most determinate factor in who will win.
Okay, anything I said previously, I disagree with. I adopt that definition. So that's really what it should be.
Right. There may be external factors, like war games have luck involved, for sure, via dice and, in this case, a song, and others like, card draw and that kind of stuff. But
because you also absorbed my definition. Because if you're losing because your faction is imbalanced and it is not because of your skill, that makes a game less competitive to me.
Yes. And that's, to be clear,
it's very hard to identify that.
I agree with your core thrust that balance is important to some degree.
Yeah.
However, your numbers, like it has to be 55 to 45, I don't actually agree with. Because a player can actively handicap themselves, and if you can quantify the impact of that imbalance versus the player skill and still make an accurate prediction, then it's still competitively balanced. And we see that in Song, in fact.
Yes.
Where some players play the worst faction, but are skilled enough to make the right choices in all the right scenarios and so on to still reliably win, even though that faction may have a win rate in the, 40-35% range. They reliably win because they are that much more skilled than the average player or even other competitive players.
Dingo the Gringo says, I've been tuning in and out, but it seems like Miniac has been working on one panel for hours, and I admire the patience and the quality he produces. Makes a lot of sense now that I see him painting in Lifetime. I've been bouncing around. I've painted like 5 or a couple of different armor panels on this guy. It's not just one of them.
Azathoth says, I don't agree with that. Any individual hand of poker is more about randomness than skill. It requires large sample sizes for skill to shine. I don't think that's true at all.
I think John would disagree with you quite a bit.
Yeah, any individual hand of poker is more about skill than randomness. Because the limited information set that each player has, which is, like if we're talking about, like, say, Texas Hold'em, right? So you have your 2 cards, and then what the flop is, and so on. Yeah, skill being knowing the direct odds of what you have is to win, just the raw odds of, I have an ace and a 5, and these 3 cards came up, and so I have roughly this percentage chance of winning, right? However, it's still a game of skill. It's just a game of also bluffing skill. Poker could have ELO, right?
Yeah.
There are better and worse poker players, and it is not just recognizing the best hand. there are intangibles to it in the sense that it is not like as easy as going, oh yeah, I'm in a favorable position because if I do this one move, he can't respond, right? But you can set traps in poker. The idea trying to bait someone in where, it's like, oh, I see these 3 cards, and if he stays in, it's likely that he's either bluffing or has this other hand that isn't as good as mine, because I have 2 aces, and I see 1 ace on the flop, so I have 3 aces right now. That kind of thing. Malev is rating us with a party of 29.
What up, Malev? What are you painting? Malev, let me know. Last question. I started a Tyranid army with a nuclear theme, bone body, green turquoise carapace, green OSL. Got any ideas for a base? Bro, I got it. Here we go. Most bases in 40K, they're circular. Do you know what's also circular in regards to nuclear radiation? A radioactive symbol. Make every base a radioactive symbol. That'd be fun. Or like yellows and black stripes. Maybe the idea being that the reason they are this color is because this particular brood of aliens grew up on a planet that has lots of toxic chemicals on it, and they've been eating it, and because they've been eating it, now their shells are changing color and their bodies are disforming, and so yeah, put them on like a radioactive looking base. Lots of tubes with green goo in them, all kinds of shit like that.
Yeah, okay, that sounds cool.
Yes. What up, Malev? She was painting. Malev was painting the Malev and Witty Demon Ship Survivors. Nice. Blendo is looking crisp. Yeah, I wanted to ask that. Now that I have framed the blend on this guy's thigh plate, the blend looks very different now, right? Now it looks much more complete. It's just really interesting, and this is a lesson for all of us. When you think you're kind of getting close to being done with the blend, just give yourself a couple of defining lines, paint some recesses, paint some borders around the things you're painting with a solid color, and it's gonna really give you a good idea about where you're at in your progress. I can be done painting this now. I don't have to continue to paint it. That to me is sufficiently white and blue looking. Name is Dot, you are welcome. What do we think about how a game allows you to control for the randomness built into the game? Just having a deck building / list building options that compensate for dice rolls / card draws make a game more competitive for people. I think the moment you start to get really specific about that kind of thing, then you kind of start to fall apart a little bit. I think if you want to define competitiveness in war games, we kind of have to stay at a higher level, or else we kind of just get really nitty gritty.
Right, exactly.
It's hard to like define anything at that point. But I don't know though. You could be onto something. Like if you wanted to form a real argument, you totally could talk about stuff like that for sure.
Again, I think skill expression is the most determinant factor. There was something I wanted to point out earlier. Azathoth was talking about how sometimes the better player loses. Basically, the cards can mess with things and stuff. If someone's favored to win 58% of the time, that still means that they lose 42% of the time. Right? So if you're talking about hands of poker, the better player may still lose 4 out of 10 hands. It's just if they're actually more skilled, they're going to win the majority of the exchanges. The same should be true in any competitive game. It doesn't mean that the better player should just automatically win. In fact, that would probably be a not good competitive experience. It still would be competitive because the more skilled player is winning. And we do see that in chess when you have a really, really large disparity in matchup, right? You know, you pair up a grandmaster against someone who doesn't know how to play chess, the grandmaster is going to win every time. But high-level chess, it's the win rates become more narrow until you get into the weirdos that just like they're so big-brained they can't lose. So... Blue 985 says 3 hours into the stream, I see I have arrived just in time.
Yes. Oh, I gotta figure out a different way to paint this white armor if I'm gonna paint the rest of these Inquisitors. Let me tell you, chat, because this is taking too fucking long.
Don't worry, you've got until Thursday.
I'm gonna see if I can leverage the airbrush again, and I'm gonna try to clean it out real nice just to see if that affects my speckling performance.
I'll try contrast paint. That's a neat trick.
Sure, contrast paint also kind of works as well.
Scott's deep in thought.
People, I see a text, I see a notification, and then my brain just goes on this like whole thought process, and then like I forget that I'm like here right now live streaming. I think it comes down to preference too. I personally like games where even masters of the game stand a chance to lose. It all comes down to control versus chance, preference, I guess.
That's why there's dice in Warhammer.
Right. It's just hard to mitigate the bad feels of being robbed by bad luck. Yeah, Jamie, you're totally right. I feel like 90% of the time, if you are worse at the game, you should lose. I feel like that's a pretty good breakdown, 9 to 1 times.
I think it depends on how much worse you are at the game.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But yeah, if you are clearly worse at the game, you should lose. If it's a competitive game. If it's not a competitive game, you're playing Yahtzee. Right? Where it's just like, there's a lot of dice rolling. Maybe the better player wins more frequently, but it's Some nights it just doesn't go that way. Evan, you're missing where the skull in poker manifests. Well, poker just got a lot more interesting. The skill in poker isn't about winning more hands, it's about winning more money than when you win, when you lose. Well, yes, but we're talking about winning exchanges. That's, I think, if you go back and reference the tape, you will find that I said wins more exchanges. And that is the key. It's not necessarily about winning and losing hands. It is about winning money. A better poker player doesn't necessarily win more hands, even in general. Well, it also depends on how you define winning hands, too, right?
What do you mean? Depends on how you define that. It's pretty quantified. Is it not? Am I crazy?
So if
Oops.
this gets into the really complicated nitty-gritty of poker. Yes, there are definitions of winning hands. What I'm referring to is some people will be like, well, you just got everyone to fold, so you didn't really win. And it's like, yes, you did. But to me, I'm more concerned with the exchange. Yeah, exactly. Poker has one victory condition. You have all the money. There's the other victory condition, not you have all the money, but the time at the table is over and you have the most. Losing less with a bad hand, all that stuff. It's the same thing as like wargaming exchanges, right? You want to trade up. You want to be achieving your objective. Sometimes you do need to sacrifice a bit of your pool in order to position yourself better later. Mind games.
It's very true.
Yeah.
But now I can't do that in song. Because you can just pass the fucking turn. I really don't like that change. I get what they're trying to fix, but I think there are better ways to fix it.
Yeah. I feel like it's a bigger topic than we can discuss with the time we have left.
Yeah. If you are unaware, in A Song of Ice and Fire, if you have less NCUs and combat units combined than your opponent, throughout the game, you have 2 chances to pass on an activation. Is there other nuance to that?
You can only use 1 token per round.
Okay.
So if you're out activated by more than 1, the tokens are not very useful.
Which I think on paper seems okay.
I think that they messed up. I think they didn't solve the problem they were really seeking to solve, which was the I'm out activated by 3.
I'm out activated. I think the problem that is trying to be solved is just simply that, I mean, maybe the broader problem was just that the whole activation amount having so much power in Song of Ice and Fire. I think they were trying to just deal with that in general, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the power that really comes about because of that is because the turn order is fixed in the game. And if you have more activations than your opponent, you always have the last activation of the round. And so you have the last into the first on rounds that you will go first next round every time.
Okay, yeah.
What
an interesting thing that...
Mike Genie, it does have a double turn mechanic. That's what I just said.
Yeah, I suppose it does, yeah. On the rounds where you go first and you have more activations, you are going first.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, if I have more activations and I go first, I still have the last activation, so I deny you the double. And if I have more activations and I go second and I'm going first next round, I have multiple activations to set up the best possible thing going in the next round.
Right, yeah.
So
that's a bit rough.
It's incredibly powerful. I have said for quite a while that I think that Song should change how first player works, and it should just be if you go last, you don't go first, because I think the back-to-back is just too powerful. But that's a huge balance change in the game, and I understand why a lot of people are hesitant to do something like that. The double turn, all the cool kids are doing it.
Lethal Shadow Gaming says, how often do you have dreams about hobby painting stuff? Never. Zenkiki says, Shatterpoint has a good skill to luck ratio. A great player will win most of the time, but you can have almost the worst card draw of dice luck. Yes, that's great. It should work that way. Azathoth is saying, more specific wargaming question, is fast time to kill a key component and making a wargame competitive, since it places such emphasis on technical skills such as positioning and activation sequencing? No, I don't think time to kill has anything to do with whether or not a game is competitive or not. I don't think it makes a game not competitive, just to be clear, but I don't think that's a mechanic that I'm looking for that makes a game competitive. I actually prefer that to not exist in my games, but again, I don't think it makes it competitive or not. Match?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so yeah. I was just saying that Matchstickman says that's how MCP works. Whoever activates last cannot activate first in the next round.
Yep. It's honestly, it's a common thing. It's not like a new or novel idea. It's just kind of like an obvious, maybe not the right solution, but it is an obvious potential solution to the power of the back-to-back.
Worth trying out.
Yeah.
At the least.
I do also think that Song would be a much less punishing game if there were more units on the board.
Yes.
Because the vast majority of lists have like 4 combat units, sometimes 5. And so if you lose a unit due to either a bad dice roll or a big back-to-back like that, you've lost 25% of your combat effectiveness.
Nerf NCUs.
Yeah, maybe, or just give me more stuff on the board.
No, because then the game takes longer.
Nah, you just cut it down by 1 round.
Okay, or that.
I mean, like, yeah, you make it a 5-round game, but make every game like roughly the equivalent of 50 points. I've pitched, just reduce the cost of everything in the game other than NCUs by 1 point. There's a bunch of 0-point attachments now. Tons of units get changed up in value. And it's like everyone's going to be running about another 2, maybe 3 combat units. Shakes up the game big time. And then, yeah, that would be a lot more activations. But if you cut off 1 round, it actually ends up being almost exactly the same amount of activations.
Does the game become less interesting, though, because you have less time to enact your strategy?
I think 5 rounds is plenty. Most games of Song are decided by the end of round 3, beginning of round 4.
Yeah.
So I think that continues to be true. And if anything, you're going to be able to set up more unfair fights. But it's not, if you institute the no double turn thing, or at least the no back to front double turn, it shouldn't be like a single unit can just like punch through something else and be in your back line and just like completely ruin the game. I don't know. I don't know if it would be better or not. I just think that as it stands right now, there are some weird things about Song that don't really work. That's okay. I still love the game. Imagine if you had reserves that can come in from the flanks on round 3 or 4. There is that, but you have to you pay the points for those, so you're playing points down. So, anyway, Scott, it is almost 4:20.
Yep. 420.
Burr, 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 burr.
Alright. Is there someone that we should raid?
I mean, we were talking about historicals, and Mark was painting something historical.
Ooh.
So let's do that.
Let us do that indeed. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to watch episode 6, because I watched 5 and 4 already. And I'm going to paint the rest of this motherfucker's white armor. Maybe even more. We'll see. We'll see what I get up to this evening when I'm alone with no one to care for. It's amazing.
All by myself.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging out and chatting with us about what makes games competitive, why Solo is the best movie in the Star Wars franchise, and all of these things. As always, a lot of the opinions that I share in this chat, and honestly, I should say this more often because there are VODs on YouTube. These aren't fully formed opinions, right? Like, if you want a fully formed opinion from Miniac, go watch one of my videos. That's where if I say something there that offends you, then you have every right to be upset with me. Because I have edited, I've thought about the thing, I shot it, I've done all this stuff. So if I'm still saying dumb shit, then that's the place to get mad with me. But yeah, these aren't fully formed thoughts. We don't really know what makes a game competitive. We're kind of just spitballing. So take everything we say with a grain of salt when it comes to live stream VODs. But
I've never been wrong in my life, Scott.
that too. So you can get mad at Evan.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds like a damn good time, dude. It's a good time. I'm not gonna lie. Add thoughts now on important topics. I bought 2 cans of Arizona tea and it was $3. Fuck inflation, dude. Yeah, same thing can be said for fucking energy drinks. Friendly banter is not factual info. Yes, true, exactly. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you so much for asking questions, being involved, subbing, donating bits, all that stuff, rating. I appreciate all of it so much, guys. We will come back this Thursday for a game stream at 7 to 10 p.m. CST. We're going to play Shatterpoint, me versus Curtis.
Points will be shattered.
Points will be shattered, indeed. Looking forward to it. But yeah, guys, we'll catch you on Thursday. Tuesday is the next painting stream, same time, same place. Until then, though, enjoy Marco Frazzoni. I will see you guys later.
The raid has been created.
Nice.